Ja, we zijn meteen al in, hè? Ja, ik zie het. Oh, kijk, top! Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Myth channel. What a brilliant start we've already got going for us. I don't have too much time for introductions because we're going to get right into the draft phase. But of course, I am Tokisaki here, joined today by Dermot. I want to ask you how you're doing, my friend, but I feel like we're going to have to talk about this draft that's going on because all the bans have basically come through. I mean, how exciting could it be, right, for this team? Like, either way, they win. They won this either way, so that's the most brilliant part of this. Now, I'm already surprised to see.
I was muted, by the way.
Oh, brilliant! So Dima was muted. You know what, look, guys, this is what happens.
We have to do everything ourselves now. There was a little bit of stress. I'm still not in the lobby, so please, someone send me an invite, else we can't even see a game.
Look,
it's just drafting simulator by then.
Okay. Here's the thing, you know, this always happens. Plus, we're out of practice. We both are out of practice, right? At least you with English casts and me with just casts in general. So bear with us for a moment. But we have got some really interesting picks coming in. The first thing that got to my mind is the fact that Aatrox is open for both teams, not being picked yet. Yep. That is something, again, we talked about the World's meta. Aatrox was either first pick or was just banned. We don't see it at all now. We have the Sejuani Karma pick. LEA being picked as well, which is another pick that we did not see at all at Worlds, because AP junglers have kind of fallen out of the meta, but it looks like Myth Esports do want to go with that.
Well, I do like the opening with Olaf LEA and the way that they're both flexible. We've of course seen Ebai play LEA top lane at Worlds, so therefore it doesn't necessarily have to slot into the jungle. But then again, Olaf of course is mostly played in the top lane, and also the matchup there against Sejuani can be really good for him. I also really like to see Karma being picked up for Myth Esports Academy team, since well their support is mostly a Karma OTP. I know him very well; he's a good friend of mine, and I would really like to see him shine and maybe even make give this game their own kind of spice to show the main team that they really have to be careful, even though it is just their academy team.
Yeah, absolutely, because let's think about this. The pressure is on for the main team mainly, right? The academy team, you know, if they lose, fair enough. They are playing against the main team, so, you know, losing is quote-unquote fine. The main team, if they lose, it's a whole different story, right? You're losing against the academy team. That is something you don't want to have, you know, to be reminded of every single time. So we'll see how this is going to play out. The pressure is on Myth Esports, but they are the main team, so I do expect them to be the favorites in this matchup as well. As we get ourselves to the next bans, Braum has been taken away already. I like this Ashe Karma as well. This could be a very poke-heavy bot lane, unless, you know, we go somewhere in the crazy realms where Karma could go to a solo lane and Ashe is going to be like a support, or I don't know. Anything could really happen. I mean, again, we are not very accustomed to this meta, as at least I am not personally as a caster. Obviously, I've played quite a few. I do feel like these are two AD carries that are not super prominent, but in general, I feel like it is a meta where AD carries kind of lots of picks basically that work out quite well. You have scaling, you can still go for the Kaiser and stuff, but now it looks like supports are being taken away, and Akshan, Trundle now being hovered. What are both teams going to be looking for here, what do you reckon?
Well, I'd like to see a really aggressive jungler coming out from Myth Esports Academy, and that can both be the Sejuani, but, well, if Sejuani is being played in the top lane, there's still, like, a place for that to play around their bot lane, because, well, Ashe Karma, really aggressive lane, you explained already, is really poke-heavy, and I think Misfortune, in general, will struggle with that, and isn't really an ADC that pairs really well with champions that are, like, most likely enchanters. It's also really surprising to me, just in the first place, to see Misfortune, with, like, the amount of nerfs that she's had in the past couple patches. Mostly her AP builds have been buffed, and I don't instantly see a support Misfortune angle when you see a Karma. Might still be a possibility, but yeah, well, in the end, I still really like what the Myth Esports Academy team is right now putting on the spot, and the Azir now being blind picked into the mid lane is also really spicy.
Yeah, and I mean, that's very Worlds-esque, right? Because we saw Azir basically being picked in the first 3 picks almost all the time as well when it was open. So there it could be, though. We have a Blitzcrank being pulled out. Now that is also very exciting to see, and you can see against an Ash Karma Azir could just be the difference maker, as Aatrox is also being hovered. We talked about it. Aatrox, you know, the champion that was the most prominent in the top lane. But Fiora is going to be picked, and that could potentially be a blind Fiora pick if this Sejuani were to go to the jungle.
That might as well be the case. Also means that either Olaf or Lilia will take place in the mid lane for Myth Esports main team. Most likely, of course, it be the Lilia. I think it may be a little bit too early to say that Lilia can be slotted into the mid lane, even though we have seen it being played in the past. But right now, we're also waiting on a patch I can't really talk about yet, because all preseason is going to be like every form of the word fun, if you ask me. And Lilia and Rakan, for example, becoming melee champion instead of ranged, I think that's going to be a huge buff for Lilia, but right now she's not going to profit from that, so I wonder how that matchup plays out into a champion like Azir, who really likes to keep his distance. Lilia, of course, being really fast, but well, when Azir says no, he just shoves a wall into your face.
Yeah, kind of what it tells me is that either way this match goes, is that Azir is just going to have to push in the mid lane, right? It feels very difficult for whichever champion Myth Esports put into the mid lane to challenge this push, unless they are looking for like some jungle attention. But that's going to be an interesting part of this matchup. I don't think mid is in that aspect going to be focused a lot, unless we're going to see the Blitzcrank roams, which I hope that we will see, of course. It can always be very exciting, but Poppy here is going to be the last pick. Does this set Poppy up for this top lanes? Certainly. Is this going to be a Poppy in the jungle? Because
I'd say
when we look at the team of Myth, what do you think?
Well, looking at this, I see that you're already in the lobby. I'm not. So that's really great when I'm the one like having to pilot the screen and everything. So I'd like people to stop the champs like and actually invite me instead of, you know. But going back into the game. I really like that both teams are playing heavily around bot lane. I'd say both team compositions really push strongly towards that strong side bot lane, where Misfortune can be a really great lane bully, and Blitzcrank, if you position incorrectly on Karma, can get you really uncomfortable situations. Karma Ashe in general, of course, has more pokes, so therefore has the potential to take over the lane and have the most pressure, or like making a way for the jungler to maybe play around dragons a lot. So I'd say it's going to be a slaughterhouse around dragons in the first place. And then, well, with currently me thinking that Lilia will be the one taking place into Azir, not the Olaf, which might also be a possibility. Azir would also have the pressure right there to make sure that dragons can be contested. I'd say both junglers will probably leave their top side alone for the biggest part until Blitzcrank will see like, okay, I don't like getting poked out of lane, I'm gonna roam with jungle, and then we might see something spicy in top lane where Fiora might end up ahead against Sejuani, because well, percentage max HP true damage is a really fun mechanic to have into a Sejuani.
It really is. Now, we are going to open up a spot for Dermot to join us in. Very necessary. We need him in. So there we go.
Got him.
It's not just Dermot, it's Observer Dermot, specifically, to be exact. So he's going to be joining us finally. So now we can get back into the drop. But I think, to get back to your point, I fully agree with the whole focus being on the bot lane in this matchup. And I feel like the most important pick that we have to talk about in this match is going to be that Blitzcrank. Because I kind of see the bot lane as a ping-pong lane, right? You have the Ashe Karma who are going to have to poke most of the time, and it's going to be difficult for Misfortune and Blitzcrank to kind of challenge it. But as long as Blitzcrank has his hook up, they can pressure the fight against them. So it's kind of like a thing where if Blitzcrank hooks, okay, it's going to be Ashe Karma for the next like 18 seconds to rule the lane. But once he gets it back, there's always, you know, this tiny little chance that if he hits that hook, he gets the knock up. Misfortune has a lot of burst. There is a way that they can just completely turn around this lane. So I'm very excited to see how the Blitzcrank is going to be playing this, but also how the junglers, as you said, are going to be playing around this bot lane.
Yeah, most definitely indeed. If you ask me, it might be really difficult, mostly for Myth's main roster right now, to look for pressure in that mid lane, because right now we have actual confirmation that it's not the Lilia but the Olaf will be taking place in the mid lane into this Azir. Yeah. So that means that when you're getting close to Azir, you can of course use Ragnarok to make sure that you don't get pushed back and stay in the face of the Azir. But if that's everything and all your poke has to come off just throwing the axes in the face of Azir, well, you might even say that he can get a free push. It also sets up for Azir taking really aggressive keystones like first strike instead of, other possibilities like combat heat normally has, because there's no way Olaf can easily get in range for him to deactivate this rune, and for Azir it's just a free way to make money and deal extra damage.
Yeah, 100%. And it just makes me think, did they choose for this Olaf to go mid mainly because he will have the most, sustain to be able to actually withstand the early Azir poke? Because obviously early on Azir's poke is not necessarily that painful yet. Yes, if you take a lot of hits, and you're going to take a lot of hits because you are a physical attacker, a melee attacker rather, you're going to take a lot of hits. But I feel like Olaf is one of those champions that can maybe, just sit there, farm it up, proc his W and make sure that he at least gets some health back and can stay into that lane. He's also naturally tanky. But my question is just going to be, these are both champions that can push really fast. It's going to be about who's going to be moving first, right? I feel like objectives are going to be a really big thing in this game.
Yeah, I do completely agree with you. Of course, both teams wanting to play for the bot side, so we earlier said already that they will probably look to take as many dragons as possible, but the upside you have on the Blitzcrank when he can surprise you out of nowhere with a hook on the top side of the map or the mid side of the map can open up a lot of possibilities to make rotations for Heralds as well. It will most definitely be a bloody game, if you ask me. It's just that, of course, the big question mark on both of might that we've, of course, spent a lot of time on already is the Olaf, how this will play out, because you say he's really tanky, but I feel like one of the big downsides of Olaf is that he doesn't really have one of those mobility spells you see on almost every carry currently in the meta, whether it's Lucian, Azir, champions who can just dash all over the map, and Olaf really just has to run in your face, and all he can do to extend Ragnarok's duration as well is, just auto-attack you. And if you have one of those flashy abilities to easily get away from him, like the Azir, or maybe even like the Poppy and Sejuani in this scenario, it's going to be really difficult for him to keep up his ultimate to stay in that fight and, be the main form of engage for his team in combination with Lilia and Blitzcrank.
And that kind of tells me
even the main force, like more a front line, which is just really difficult to stay attached to the enemy team. Yeah,
because as you said, it's not like he is a classic frontline, like for example, the side of Academy have with Sejuani and Poppy, right? Those are proper frontline champions. Olaf also wants to be dealing a lot of damage. Now, I think when I look at this composition here from Team Myth Esports, it's so weird saying Myth for like both teams. You have to really just say the full name so that people don't.
Or Academy and just leave Myth out, but that'd also be really weird because then people don't know what
for the main team.
Looking at.
Exactly, it's a bit odd, but either way, I do think the main team of Myth Esports are going to be looking for a lot of vision control, and I'm speaking mostly of around the objects, but also trying to get the vision control in the enemy jungle, because I feel like when I look at these compositions, you said it, this Olaf might need to be a form of engage unless you have the Blitzcrank, so you can look for picks and you can look for a way out there. But if that doesn't work, you still need to find a way to challenge these objectives. And Olaf, I feel like the best way they can do it, get some deport, make like use of a red trinket, and make sure you can kind of get behind the Ashe and the Karma so that you can start running them down, or even the Azir, because Shurima Shuffle is not going to work against an Olaf who has Ragnarok popped.
Yeah, and normally you see the Karma that's right now on the Academy team, of course, being paired up with a champion like Olaf to make it easier for him to stick to targets, because you can movement speed them up. So in that perspective, you'd say, like, why isn't there an enchanter on the main team side that can do the same thing with an item like the Shuralia's Battle Song, or maybe just a Lulu who can easily get it there. Also, a champion that hasn't been banned during this rotation, then Lulu, of course, not really pairing up with Misfortune the best, but might have been a lane that you could have taken in consideration. It's just some really weird decision-making that aren't necessarily bad, but it's just something that we're not really used to, and right now we're basically just waiting 1 minute more to see if it actually pays off for them.
Yeah, it's a big question mark here for the side of the main team of Myth Esports. I generally tried to make it shorter, and then I made it really long. I feel like it's just going to be a disaster, this entire cast. But you know what? That doesn't really matter much. But one thing that does excite me, I know
a lot during these games.
I know. So it's going to be a bit disastrous. Then again, I did say we're out of practice, so give us a little break to the viewers out there. But here's the thing, obviously. The thing that Myth Esports do have, the main team I'm talking about here, of course, is they have a lot of high variance plays, right? They have the Lilia ultimate, which is paired incredibly well with Misfortune's bullet time, right? Because it doesn't stop the sleep. So those are like, for example, things that can really change the pace of this game. I just feel like for Myth Academy, their composition looks much easier to execute and much easier to play. So it's going to be very exciting to see how the main team is going to be able to, use the fact that they have picked themselves more difficult to execute comp and see if they can best, a much easier comp to play, because they are playing against the Academy. So I feel like it makes it a nice, a nice little matchup. But we're going to get ourselves into the game very soon so we can take a look at the summoners that we have. Of course, I like the Ghost here on the Ashe, for example. That's going to help.
Really quick into the sponsor of the stream, because of course,
Myth look at that
sponsor, and it's Boom Energy. It's a small video I have in the background, so we can use that until we actually get into the game itself. Let me actually turn off the sound there as well for now.
Brilliant.
And then we'll get right into that. So I do have to say I haven't really tried the new stinger with the ad yet. So apparently it's a head.
Oh.
So it basically already started during the transition. So right now we have to try and sync with our games. Can we get both onto 20 seconds in game and then make it start?
Sure, that sounds like a good idea. Let me put myself on there. All right, count it down.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. And let's get into this game.
All right.
And then I still had it on 8 times speed. Well, let's actually do it again on 25. Oh my god.
25, yeah, sounds good. Go on. It's beautiful. Okay, it's fine, guys. It's fine.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
There we go. All right. Well, we're going to get ourselves into game 1 of the finals here. A lot is on the line, ladies and gentlemen, because the winner, allegedly, as I've heard, will earn 150 euros and a spot into the next division, Division 1, because these are the Division 2 finals. Second place, so this is a prize that everyone has already got on, is 50 bucks. So it's still, a nice little consolation prize. But both of these teams certainly are going to want to look for a win here. And we already see a safety play here coming in from Academy. Makes a lot of sense. You're playing against a Blitzcrank. You do not want to be invaded and have that happen to you immediately at the start of a series.
Yeah, and they also have great vision control over the fact that if they probably want to go for a late invade on the main side, then they will probably have to walk through that little pixel bush. You still have the opportunity to do that with the Blitzcrank, but for now it doesn't look like the main team wants to go for that. They're basically stacking for a counter invade, which I don't think that the Academy roster would ever go for.
I respect it though.
Karma. Yeah, of course. It is in general just not really the smartest play to try and invade a Blitzcrank. But
yeah.
First thing that, of course, catches the eye of everyone watching as well is that both junglers, of course, starting on the top lane because they have noticed that both of their strong sides are on the other side of the map, so they instantly want to pass towards that. So the big question becomes who will clear the fastest towards that, or who will be willing to sacrifice their jungle camps to be there faster. I also need to allow the sound before people start complaining that they can't hear anything. So yeah, top tier production still.
Hey, look, as I said, we're out of practice, right? So allow us a bit of slack, it happens. And it is also, I know as well, it is very difficult to cast and have to produce at the same time. So
don't get me started about it. I am really glad that I have the esports timers on. So right now in the top right corner and the top left corner, you can actually see what objectives are spawning. If Salt actually hits the first really wonky hook onto Viking, and he gets the surprise of a lifetime.
Yep, there's early surprises coming in already, and I like to see the aggression from both these bot laners already. Yeah, we talked about it, right? It's going to be the ping pong. So right now, Myth, Viking in space. I can't say Myth because literally Myth is everywhere on the screen at the moment. But Space and Viking, they can have a little bit of leeway now that the hook is down. So you can see that their lane is pushing that way. But yeah, most importantly, the junglers are now both on the bottom side. We'll see who is going to be looking for an early gank. Obviously, LEA, not known for those early ganks, might want to just farm it up rather quickly and make sure she gets that level 6 as soon as she can. But, you have a blitz, so all you need her really for is just damage to make sure you can finish your target. But with both flashes up and a hook missing there in the bot lane, I think we might see a potential mid lane gank.
It is also just really nice, right, to have your jungler on the same side of the map as the enemy jungler, so that if you need to counter gank, it's available. Chained up there actually with a really nice combination to get out of the zone that they were threatening to gank him. I also want to slightly take it back to the similar choice of Myth Space on the bot side, where Viking now gets surprised, so I can't
yeah,
really do
Hook
that.
comes onto Viking. The flash is still up, but there's not enough damage for them to finish Viking off, so we'll be able to walk away there, so we'll let you finish your point, my friend.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that Space right here has made the choice to go for a Ghost instead of, like, well, heal, cleanse, exhaust, like some normal combat summoners you in general see on the ADCs. Right now, I think Ghost is a really nice option. You don't necessarily need heal when playing against, well, the burst pick-off with Kip and Mr. Salt, because, well, Mr. Salt, when he hooks your support, you can't even heal him anyway, and if he instantly ignites you, then your heal doesn't really have any value. And Kip is of course playing Misfortune, who really likes to slow you first with their E, and then throw the ultimate over it. So Ghost giving you that extra movement speed to easier, or like give yourself an easier time to get out of that Misfortune ultimate, I think is a really great choice for him to survive those later team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's not only just good against that, but it's also, you have the Olaf, you have the Lilia, and the Fiora. These are all champions that can move really fast. So having the Ghost and the Slow in your arsenal does mean that, you know, you're going to be able to get out of harm's way much more quicker. So I think very smart here by Space for sure, as we see a bit of trading in the top lane. I mean, this tends to be the story of top lane. You just see a bit of trading. That just tends to be it. Doesn't usually turn up into much more, especially when you have this particular lane. But Eremia definitely going to be looking to back here, as there is a freeze put down in the bot lane. Kind of difficult for Space to deal with this, of course, because Viking has backed. So we'll see if Viking with this roam can do something to, you know, make it a little bit more favorable for Space, because at the moment, you know, despite being ahead in CS, it does allow for a comeback for Kip.
I do believe that they should be able to break this freeze rather easily the moment that Viking returns, because, well, he just got some items in his pocket, he got full mana again, so he can help his ADC try and break this this freeze. But, like, the most awkward part was, of course, that Space got cancelled, being afraid to, with the blind hook of Mr. Salter on the bot lane when they were resetting. And, well, if he would have just continued his reset, nothing would have been lost. They could have gotten into lane both full mana with their newly purchased items, and with that pressured through the advantage they initially have against Kip, Mr. Salt, and maybe look for their own freeze when the wave is bouncing. Or if Kip and Mr. Salt decide to stay, of course you have the resource advantage with your spent gold, so that would have been really good. Right now, Viking is basically being held hostage in his own lane because he can't really start roaming with the Karma to maybe, snowball through the advantage that he just had with his own reset. But Space being stuck in this lane with no mana and the wave frozen, so he basically has to stay, is of course a really bad thing for him.
Definitely is a really bad thing, and now we do see Ferrari is running off to the bot lane, looking for a potential gank here. Now, Mistaken is around, so it could be, well, a mistake for him to go for it. So he's going to back off for now. But one thing I actually want to put my attention to, Duma, because we talked about it early on, we haven't really seen happen much there, but the mid lane. Mr. LeBronzi is ahead in CS at the moment. It's looking like this lane is working perfectly. He even went for a cloth armor. So it's not even like he's building against Chain Up in order to survive this lane. He's having a great time. It's working out completely well for him. But we did speak about the push that Chain Up gets, which is going to give them the leeway to get this dragon over here. And that should just be a free pickup.
Yeah, it's nice priority for the dragon. Now, it doesn't really matter a lot for the main team to lose the first dragon here, because there's a lot more dragons to still spawn. And knowing how the Worlds games went, the first 2 dragons in the game don't really point out towards the Dragon Soul, who you can stack for 4 dragons if you're ahead in the mid to the late game stages. So I think that the main team shouldn't really care too much about losing this first dragon. It of course is, well, sad to having to give it away, but in general not a lot is lost there. I did want to continue on how LeBronzi is standing his ground, of course, in this lane, because, well, Olaf did get his mid-patch rework, I think half a year ago by now, where his healing from his W got placed to his passive, so now the lower he gets, the more healing and attack speed.
Oh, the flash comes over. That's going to be so much damage on Chained Up. He will not survive. First blood comes over to LeBronzi. They might be looking for more, but Viking will get away. But this is what we talked about. This is what Blitzcrank can do.
I didn't expect Mr. Salt to go for that, but he did it anyway, so sorry for starting a really long story when that was about to happen.
I didn't see it, it's fine. You know, I was just caught by surprise as well, but that is also what Blitzcrank does, right? He catches you by surprise, and that's exactly what it did to the Academy team.
Yeah, and this is of course really good for the main team. The fact that they have first blood and not on just a character, but it's also the Olaf, who, in my opinion, needs to have that lead early on because he is really strong back by then. And well, the longer we get into game, he will make a nice front line and still deal a lot of damage. But like we said earlier, it will be really difficult for him to actually stick onto those carries. So he will need to have that gold acceleration to get himself the items to be able to do that. And right now, well, Myth is putting him on the right path to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean 1-0 is 8 CS ahead, so basically an entire wave as we see a fight in the top lane. Of course, the Herald has already been started by the Academy team, but it looks like the main team wants to challenge it. That comes the Flash. It's going to be a stun up. Lots of damage coming back onto Ferrari, though. The hook is here onto Space. Will he be able to make it out? That's a 3-man sleep, and it's disaster for the Academy team. 2 already fall. Space is trying to run away. Will make it out for now. Eremia has to get out of the pit as well. Will be able to just jump out, but the team fighting coordination here by the main team of Myth looking beautiful.
Yeah, and I believe that Space right here got caught by surprise because everyone was focusing everyone else. So Space thought, I have, well, the space in his scenario to actually move around here, to move up and deal some damage. But a really big miscalculation meant for everyone dropping really low. And at the same time, this was a 4v5 being won by the main team. So Kip on the bot lane got a lot of resources by himself just for the free pickups. So that's a huge lead of 2,000 gold that the main team is already setting up for themselves.
Yeah, and really the only thing that the Academy team at the moment of going for them is the fact of that first dragon. But yeah, you said it before, right? We've seen this as Worlds as well. The first dragon, it doesn't really matter. So we'll see how Myth Academy are going to be able to try and turn this around, because not only that, they're also losing 2 plates against a Fiora pick. And when you look at their composition, who is going to be able to stop this Fiora in the side lanes later on? No one really. So this is already looking very, very difficult for the Academy team, and they're going to have to pull something magical out of their hats if they want to turn this around, and it's going to have to happen rather soon.
Yeah, and to think that this play actually started with Mistaken being the one starting the Herald, and well, apparently the Academy team of Myth thought to themselves that if Mistaken is here by himself or maybe one more, we can fight it, because we have just rotated our bot lane already towards the Herald. But Velociblade having the priority on the top lane, making sure that he arrived earlier before everyone else, just made such a big difference. Yeah, it was just 1, 2, 3 picking up the 3 kills for the main team, and right now we're here on that 10-minute mark. We already talked about the 2k gold lead that's already been extended to 2.5, and well, the Academy team right now has to play it really slow because they do still have a lot of scaling by their sides. Ashe can spike really hard, Azir, the Sejuani will become more and more tanky, but they have to play it a bit slower, and right now I don't really see that in how the waves are being set up.
No, it's going to be very difficult for them to do. We see Eremia trying to trade back, but yeah, Velociblade is just too strong at this point. 1-0 and 1 on this Fiora. Almost got that first item finished. Going to finish it soon. You can see that Ferrari is trying to look for some ganks. One towards this mid lane. Not going to find it. Now looking towards that top lane. Might be able to find it because there is no flash on Velociblade. So here comes the engage from Eremia. The ultimate has been put down, so he might have to try and run away. The ignite is down as well. That is going to be the riposte. This should be an easy pickup here for the Academy team. Gonna go over to the top lane.
Definitely a great heroic charge there coming out from Ferrari, making sure that the second to last Vital didn't get a hit or procced. So Alina, well, still was in a little bit of danger, because once again, percentage max HP true damage is a really tough one to deal with when you're a Sejuani. But looking at the end numbers, and LeBronzy right now going really ham on Ferrari. LeBronzy, do you really want to do this on your own?
Yeah, that might be a little bit too much. The Ragnarok is brilliant. There's 3 players here. There comes the Ashe Arrow, but it is going to be the little red thing that is going to stop it. I forgot the name of it, but now the hook comes down. That is going to be an easy kill pickup here for the main team. Flash, though, going to get chained up away, but I think it might just not be enough. Yeah, the Lilia passive, but also just Lilia herself being so fast, running him down. There's a second charge coming in as well for this Herald, and just a lot happening right now. The main team of Myth, yeah, they're in trouble. Down. This is looking troublesome here for the Academy team, because it's going to be a 3v4 again. That is going to be a big bullet time. The hammer will get him away, but it does not matter, because it is going to be 2 kills being picked up here for Velociblade on the Fiora, and now the Academy team are truly in trouble.
Yeah, and well, taking it all back to what happened on the top lane, I don't really have a replay system, but I do want to talk about it. If Salt isn't going for this, but he is.
Oh, Ferrari really wants to at least find 1 kill, but Mr. Salt just dancing on him, does not even move. And that is just a mental edge that he just gets himself as well.
So I hope we were like able to stop fighting for a little bit, because I want to take it back to what happened to LeBroncy on the top lane when he got changed. Of course, the blasting cone being a really big factor in why he got away, because it misplaced everyone. Like Alina couldn't hit anything anymore. The arrow went wide because they didn't expect it to be there. And at the same time, the main team already had their eyes on another play. LeBroncy's being collapsed on the top lane. Fine, we'll go somewhere else. And they went for that bot side collapse. Were able to pick up Chained Up for free, even though he almost got away, but well, almost is of course not enough. And fighting in that stage, instantly once again making the rotation call for Velociblade, you have to get to us because LeBroncy is already holding your wave. Ooh, Mr. Salt of course being really close there. But yeah, just setting up all of that, making all of those rotations so cleanly, whilst it just feels like the Academy team right now is behind on everything. They just have to be yeah, not in the driver's seat, basically. And with that, I wonder how they will get back from this, because we just saw only a 2,000 gold deficit, which right now has almost doubled to, I mean, 2,500, that is almost doubled to 5k. It's right now 4.2. So with that, they really have to find a way to slow down their main team, or else this is going to be a really quick one.
It really, really is. Mistaken now could be called out here, and I feel like what you mentioned is exactly right, as we now do see a hook coming in though onto Viking, and he is going to immediately fall to Kip. As now in the top lane we also see a fight. This might be looking a little bit better, but they cannot finish off Mistaken. Well, they will in the end. That's going to be a shutdown. It will be 1-for-1 for now. Can they kill the Ragnarok Olaf? He is going to be under his turret safely for now, because his team is about to back him up.
Might just look to take it, but...
Yeah, they might look to do so, as Mr. Salt hook just goes wide, but they actually cannot finish off LeBroncy, so that is going to be a shutdown still yet to be taken. You see Ferrari and Chain Up are trying to at least take this blue buff. Will they find it? Don't tell me that went to 3. Okay, it did not go to like Misfortune. So they do find it, but once again now in the bot lane, Myth main team, they take another turret, and I feel like this is what they are doing beautifully. Whenever a play happens, they make sure that even if Academy gets something, they get double of it back on the other side of the map.
Yeah, they're really splitting the map, yeah, well, fairly well, and it is still huge for the Academy team that Chained Up right here got the bounty, got the shutdown, because he is one of the main factors or main carries who will have to carry this for his team when he's now being caught by LeBron.
That is a ghost. That's a ghost. Chained Up. Gonna be chained up now into the grey screen as LeBronzy gets himself a killing spree.
I'm also not necessarily used to Chained Up playing carry champions like Azir. I normally see him on champions like Seraphine, where he's a supportive champ.
Oh, Mr. Salt. Oh, the bullet time as well. Kip, just leave the man alone. Viking 0-4 at the moment, not having the best game of his life.
Yeah, and to think that he's still playing his main champion, like these kind of mistakes aren't the ones you'd like to see from him. But yeah, being this far behind in the game might also be really difficult to actually find yourself a way back. And you have to go for those riskier plays that might eventually pay out in the long term, if you can make them pay off. And right now the risk is just a little bit too great in addition, or like in comparison to the reward. So Viking finding himself back into his own spawning fountain. And I think he has to start walking with his team a lot more to maybe set up some vision for this dragon. Because now that the soul has been decided, it is really important for them to at least get some control over that.
Yeah, you can see that the Academy team are looking for a catch here, but it has been warded, it has been spotted out. So, again, they're trying to look for plays. They are so desperately trying to look for catches, which is already so difficult against the Blitzcrank, but they just cannot find anything. And we have to, you know, we have to mention just Mr. Salt's brilliant play in this game already, right? His hooks have been on point. Yes, he's missed a few, but I mean, that happens to every Blitz, but the hooks that he's hit have all mattered, and it's exactly what you would have wanted when you picked this Blitzcrank against this composition of the Academy team. You have to look for those plays, and Mr. Salt has been finding them left and right.
Yeah, and I don't really get why Blitzcrank players get judged off hooks that they miss, because every hook you don't throw, you'll miss by default. Like,
True.
You have to try and get every single one of them, because the moment you hit them, it can be so important for your team to get the right pick-off, being able to instantly snowball that into an objective play, and then try and take the enemy by surprise when they are one player less. So for now, he's just been doing that, and Most notably, of course, in the fight we saw earlier at Herald, he was able to switch targets so easily. Like, his team was focusing down 2 already really squishy carries. He's not busy by making sure that they secure those 2. No, he's already looking for the next player in line to fall. He found space, and that was so important for his team. So the fact that he is not showing any form of tunnel vision is already making him a great addition in this game.
Well, we now see a fight in towards the bot lane. Ragnarok has been popped. Here's the teleport for Chained Up. And when you teleport on an Azir, you definitely want to make sure that you make this work. LeBronzy now in a lot of trouble. Surely this will be the shutdown. No, not yet. Here comes Shurima's Truffle. It will be the shutdown over to Aramia. Ash Arrow will lock up Velocity, but how long is that going to matter as now the hook comes down? Drowsy will be down as well. That's going to be 2 kills to the main team, and now the rest have to run away. Academy could be in trouble. Ferrari looks for a big play here, but doesn't have the damage to make it work. Mr. Salt flashes, gets himself a knock-up. Another hook hits. It's going to be a trade back, but it looks like the ace is going to be here. Misfortune doing so much work. Can they find space? He's trying to run for his life. There's the cleanse on the slow. Kip really wants this kill. The auto attack won't do it, but the next one will. It's an ace for the main team.
Yeah, that's of course a really well played fight by them. Of course, they were the ones being collapsed on in the first place with their teleport from Chained Up coming down with some really great communication. Made sure that they were once again first in the rotation, the first to arrive, able to kill Chained Up fairly easily. And after that, well, it was just child's play for them. The small mistake of Ferrari also didn't really help out. If we now see a teleport come out from Alina, but he's alone.
Yeah, Aramia now kind of just looking to do this on his own, and now, well, managed to find the support, but I don't know if you're going to be able to find much more. Viking is there to try and save him. The shield is not up. There's going to be the chain, but look at that. Ragnarok once again. LeBronzy going to be walking off to safety as now Chain Up is trying to make this work. The Academy team might actually be able to turn this around. The arrow does go wide, unfortunately. So the Academy team immediately makes sure that they get themselves over towards the dragon, and of course, to be able to get themselves another objective bounty, which may just help to get them back into this game.
Yeah, and the small mistake that Ferrari made in the fight earlier instantly gets redeemed when he is here in time to help contest. In the end, the nice goal from Alina making sure an objective gets denied from their enemies, but they're still really behind this game. It's a really desperate 6k gold deficit they're looking into, and looking at how this game is going, Nash might be the next plan for the main roster because, well, they are so far ahead. Why not try and flip it? Because you win every single fight, is what I'd say in their position. I don't know if they're instantly going for it, but you see that the groups are slowly, being made in that top side when we see LeBronzy arrive there first, and with almost, at the very least, a lot of important carries here in the mid lane for their academy team. I see some angles where they can make a really nice flank and maybe decide the game right here, right now.
Yeah, it may just happen, and we can already see right LeBronzy in the top side of the jungle. We talked about the OLF wanting to look for like ways to get onto the backside of the team. Well, getting vision there is one of those ways, but the Academy team are making sure that at the moment does not happen. They're going to just secure their own jungle and at least be able to catch themselves a decent amount of money. Every single penny is going to count at this point as Ferrari picks up that red buff. But obviously vision control is going to be in favor of the main team as they are at the moment about 6,000 gold ahead. So the Academy team, you know, they have managed to make it a little bit of a comeback because it was looking like it was going to go near a 10,000 gold lead. But getting themselves that dragon and that team fight at the end did bring them a little bit further back into the game. So we'll see how they're going to be able to try and face this Baron, because at the moment the main team are not leaving them any space on the map.
Yeah, I mean, for the Academy team, it's not the worst situation right now, since Velociblade is still waiting for his teleport cooldown. It will be there soon, so he might still be able to join his team in time. But for Chained Up, of course, he just got his teleport back, so he can side lane fairly easily in the situation that they're fighting for Nash, and he can just, well, be there, make sure that he can help his team. And they're looking for Kip, and Kip was
beautiful arrow. Kip is in trouble. That's a 700 gold shutdown all over to space. And, well, if there's anything that can bring you back into the game, it is that.
Yeah, and looking on who it went on Space, who's also one of the late game carries. Looking at his build, he has Kraken Slayer and Phantom Dance already completed. He was behind a little bit on Kip, but he should be able to make that, or like to compensate for that very well now if he takes his next reset. You see Salt instantly getting punished for missing his hook as well. This is a really great shift already for Myth Academy, but keep in mind they're still 6k gold behind when Velociblade looks for Chained Up on the bot lane.
Oh, that is a very good repulse and also a good flash, but you got to wonder, does that flash matter because you're still not going to get out? But look at this, Olaf Ragnaroking all his way through, will get the kill, has to trade his life for it though, but it looks like the main roster kind of wants this fight. The teleport has been taken out by Velocblade, so whether that was worth it or not, I do not know, but it looks like they're going to go straight towards Baron because Kip is back in the fray.
Yeah, and this might be an issue because Mistaken just randomly pressed his flash as well here in the mid lane, so that's kind of an interesting way to do that. Ferrari might be looking for a steal, has both the blasting cone and flash, so it will be a possibility, but they're right now just dancing around, and Mistaken is the first one to look for something else.
Yeah, all he needs is to hit a few people. Doesn't have to sleep up at the moment though, but it just looks like the main team were trying to bait them in and maybe look for a fight, because at the moment it's just way too difficult to take this Baron with the health bars that they have. So at least the Academy team managed to break up the Baron play and going to force the team back. But I have to say, and I've got to give props to the Academy team here, they are sticking in towards this game. They were really far behind and was looking very, very dire, but they found themselves a big shutdown. They managed to stop the Baron, and they are getting themselves a little bit more control over the map. Now, if they can just take down this mid turret, that could help them a lot as well, but I feel like that is still a while away.
Yeah, right now we see, of course, an all-out defense coming from the main team, but we already said it before, there's a lot of great scaling in the composition of the Academy team, so the longer that they will be playing their game out, the better it is for them, and we also can see it in the items coming through. We see Void Staff already being completed on Chained Up, making sure that if there's more magic resist being built, he can shred to it fairly easily. We can see that the item deficit that was on the bot lane between Space and Kip is slowly being repaired with him already getting a BF sword and a cloak, and right now a catch on Velocblade would finish that all off if they
That was a brilliant Shurima shuffle. Velocblade is definitely going to die. Chain-Up will get himself that kill, and now you can see the main team instantly say we have to push towards mid, because it looks like the Academy team may want to go for Baron, but if they do, they're going to at least lose their inhibitor.
Yeah, I don't know if this is worth for the Academy team to actually get the Baron if the main team pushes through, but they're not going for it either. They want to go for the 50-50 Baron play.
They do, but Olaf isn't there as well. You can see him now walking over towards the mid lane. You have Elena in the back. This could be a very good engage. It's going to find onto Mistaken, but do they have the damage to follow up? Not yet. That's going to be an arrow in immediately. The bullet time doing so much damage. And God of War Ragnarok is out, and Olaf is showing no mercy to the Academy team. He will fall in the end, as we do see a fight between the junglers in the bot lane. Elena in so much trouble as well will fall to the main team, as now Space trying to make a hero play. Can he do it though? Mr. Salt looking for a potential hook, will not find it, but Mistaken is here, has got the movement speed, and that will be an easy pickup, and once again the main team get an ace.
This is of course a really great fight coming out from their main team. It looked like for an instant that they were the team getting collapsed on, with a nice flank coming out from Elena, but the way that they turned it instantly, LeBronzi just dives the back line and there's no one to stop them. There's no one from the Academy team who actually thinks about, okay, maybe we need to help our backline, because I thought that this Olaf would have some really great difficulty in sticking on that back line, but if he has this ghost, he runs in and makes sure that the Stride Breaker hits at least one or two enemies that are really important to him. His sticking potential right now is insane. The Ash Slow doesn't do anything to him, and when you see the squishies being Viking, Space and Change Up standing there, and Ferrari and Alina already on the other side of the fight, I feel like there's a mistake being made in the team fighting for their Academy team, and hopefully they've learned from it, because this fight wasn't the end of the game yet, but disastrous enough to put them on a 9k gold deficit.
Yeah, looking extremely rough here for the Academy team, and as you said, it looked good at the start, and they have made plays where you think like, okay, this could potentially work out, but there is too much threat at the moment on the side of the main team of Myth that it's just going to be able to deal with that backline. We talked about it in this draft immediately, right? What Olaf can do and what he is good at is if he manages to get onto that backline, there is nothing to get him off of it. You have an Azir and an Ashe, and yes, they can start like auto-attacking him, but I don't think this Olaf cares, and he is so far ahead at the moment. He's just going to go absolutely crazy on them. So we'll see if the Academy team find a way to go around that, as Mr. Salt now could be looking for a hook, almost hit space, and that could have almost just straight up been the game.
Yeah, that Ferrari Hex Flash kind of, yeah, I don't know what to think of it, because if that would have made sure that your ADC gets hooked over you, for Ferrari getting hooked there isn't really the biggest of issues now, isn't it? Because you want to be the one to engage, and if the Blitzcrank gives you a free one, you still have some spells left to use on the actual carries. So I thought maybe there was potential for the Academy team to fight there, of just a blind hook being thrown away by Mr. Salt, but in the end, the Hex Flash makes sure that nothing happens, which isn't the worst of scenarios for the Academy team wanting to play it slow. But if there was a possibility to make the fast play with LeBronzy not there and Velociblade still standing on the other side of the map, then maybe that was your call to actually do it.
Yeah, it definitely may have been. As we see, Alina now is still able to match Velociblade here onto the side lane. I wonder how long it's going to take for that to stop. We see Velociblade backing over now, so we'll see what it's going to be able to buy in that back. But both teams are now currently just chilling, you know, making sure they get themselves their items for this potential Baron play coming out, as the Dragon is still quite a while away. Plus, you know, it is just going to be a sole point. So it's not really something that both teams are currently looking towards. I think this Baron is just the most important play, and well, Ferrari is here quicker at the moment, so might be able to remove a bit of vision for the side of the Academy team, which may allow them to at least avoid a catch. But again, they're gonna have to look for a catch. They have the Ash Arrow, but can they find it?
Yeah, and you say that it's probably really good for them to avoid a catch, but LeBronzy already pinching in right there with the rest of the team lurking in the mid lane, so it might be the scenario that the main team gets a catch. Great damage already from the double up on Kip for the win, who has completed 3 of his core items already, sitting on that Infinity Edge. And talking about items, like, everything has been going so fast for both teams. We see that, of course, the tank items on Alina, they are fairly cheap, but they have been coming in. He's already sitting on 3 in the Bramblefest since the beginning of the game. Velociblade is looking to get his final part of his Ravenous Hydra, which is of course really important. And I think the most important when it comes to items is maybe looking at LeBronzy, because we've said already that he's an important factor when it comes to sticking the backline. And look at how unkillable he is. Now he has finished his death stance as well.
Yeah, now he's looking towards the top lane push here. You can see how LeBronzy is just having a field
day.
Unless they That's the thing.
2 or 3 people.
That is exactly the thing, and we talked about this before as well.
Baron's
how are they going to
contest by the main
both?
Team.
Yeah, this is what the main team has been doing so well. They start a play on one side and they force Academy to go to one side, and they just immediately go for something on the opposite side of the map. But here comes LeBronzy. He already popped the Ghost. Is he going to pop the Ragnarok as well, though? That's the question. There it comes. Now, can they finish him off in time? That's the question. Space has to flash away. Will use the stopwatch to stay alive for long enough, and LeBronzy is going to fall. That's a big shutdown over towards the top laner. But in the bot lane, Velociblade is already going to get himself an inhibitor. Mr. Salt flashes in, but he doesn't have any follow-up from his team. Will die. It looks like the Academy team is finally winning out on a fight, but the base is being broken down. Mistaken. Can he turn this around? Space is going in deep. Will find the shutdown, and this could be a potential Baron, but look at the base. Oh, here is Kip. Kip is still there. Look at the health bars. The solo. Kip finds a double kill. Can he find a triple? Just needs to make the bullets rain. And now Velociblade looking for a play. Will not find it though. He is going to fall to the turrets, and Viking will get out. This is just game 1 of a best of 5 series. What kind of games are we in for?
Yeah, and whilst, of course, the Academy team, like you said, it looked like they were winning the fight, and maybe they even did in the end, in your opinion, but making your base already this vulnerable, being one inhibitor down, there are a lot of important objective plays that are up and coming. Most importantly, of course, the Baron that's on the other side of this bot side inhibitor. And now also the teleport being invested for Alina because they want to fight this dragon. It might be problematic if the main team now decides to actually go for Baron, because there isn't a lot of rotational power for mid, and someone needs to hold that bot lane.
It is like looking like so much trouble, but it has been for the Academy team this entire game. They have been on the back foot ever since minute number 1, as Mr. Soul now gets chained up, and chained up is in trouble. Gets the Shurima shuffle. Will he be able to get out? That's the big question. The bullet time does not connect, but Alina is the one in trouble now. The ultimate is going to buy us some time, but can he get out will be able to get out. So somehow, some way, they actually managed to get out. Now LeBronzi is being chased down, but for Lost Blade, so much damage on this Fiora. Ferrari has to run away, but I don't think he is going to be anywhere. Does get the face rush, living up to his name completely, but they are being chained up and there is nowhere to go. Space has no space to go anymore. That's a double kill for Kip, and they might just look to end the game.
Yeah, it's just Chained Up and Alina alive. Chained Up has some wave clear with his soldiers, but Alina needs to go deep into the fray before he can actually do something. And sitting in a 2v5 situation with a lot of important summoners still available, we of course see the ultimate of the Blitzcrank as well. And there we go.
The sleep, the hook, and that will be all she wrote. The main team in a dominant fashion. The Academy team tried to show bits of life, but they were not able to find enough, and the main team will find the first win in the finals.
I think this is of course a really important win, because the moment that you have that, you can try and snowball it through. But miracles, well, we wouldn't be talking about them if they never happened, because of course in our minds are still, yeah, I'd like to say ghosts of maybe even the World's Finals, where T1 started really confident, and then suddenly DRX came back, and in the end it was such a close series. We might have that one on our hands as well, sooner or later. If I can maybe try and get the last stats in screen. Give me a second. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Okay, so right now it's probably easier for you guys to read what's actually on the screen, what the statistics were. Space actually did a surprising amount of damage, of course, after those shutdowns that he farmed. But in the end, looking at how the main team played it, Kip, 23k damage on top of the damage charge. He was really fast in his itemization, and also LeBronzi being able to have that much of backline access is really great in the way that they played it in the end. So it's really deserved, of course, for the main team to have this 1-0 victory. And, well, I can't be more hyped for the next one.
Absolutely. There's still plenty to talk about, but we're going to head off to a quick break before we get more into it. But definitely do not go anywhere, because this series is long before over. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the finals of the LA Amateur League here in Division 2 between Myth and Myth. But it is, of course, the main team against the Academy team. We just had a crazy match, so to say, of course. The main team definitely looking very strong, had a very strong start, and it just looked like even though the Academy team tried to look for picks here and there, they were just not able to stop the onslaught. That was the main team.
What I really liked about the main team when in their game plan is that they didn't necessarily go all in their early game, but the fact that they got that snowball and kept it rolling. Like, of course, there were some small mistakes to be made, but for some reason, they had compensation everywhere. If there was a mistake on the top lane, bot lane would instantly get an advantage on their side, and that's such an important skill to have as a team. It's really great to see here, and right now, the ball's in the court of Myth Academy. How are you going to play into this? Because, well, looking at how this draft went, Olaf was first pick. Now, I do know the coach of the main team, which if I'm correct, or the assistant coach is Mr. Sleeps.
Terrible.
And this man loves his flex picks. So if he first picks something, it will go somewhere you will not expect it. He likes to play off meta or what he thinks is the new meta, but no one's playing it yet. So therefore, on blue side, that's really great to have. Academy right now is the team that takes place on the blue side, so the first pick priority is gone. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Academy has a more straightforward approach to this draft, picking just a high priority champion on that blue one, and Myth main responding with both a counter pick because it's a classic champion, and once again one of these, well, like offsetting picks that Academy once again is in shambles, not knowing where the next champ is going to be going.
And here's the thing. Yes, you now have the first pick. How are they going to make it work? What are they going to pick? What is the pick that the Academy team are currently looking for that's going to be the one that will, get them back into this game? They went for a pretty relatively easy to execute composition, but I feel like the biggest pick that the main team had in the last game was that Olaf, right? That was really the biggest problem they had to deal with. Yes, the Fiora was side laning, but it looked like the Sejuani was kind of able to stop it for the most part of the time. But the Olaf just did so much. And yeah, you know what? It's actually the main team who just say, you know what? You guys are not getting the Olaf.
So maybe in hindsight, it wasn't just the Olaf being priority for the main team themselves in flexibility, but also picking it away from one of the players in the Academy team, which of course is the big brain play. And I really like it when coaches do that. So in this scenario, we instantly will get a different team or like a different game, a different approach. And I can't be more hyped than to see what the Academy team is willing to draft on top side or like as the first pick right now. Because we've talked before that the World's meta was mostly top lane being picked first with the Aatrox. But how the Academy team just played, it looks like they prefer a weak side top side instead of a strong side. So right now the Sejuani was the first pick. And then, well, we were just talking about the strong side. I think the Fiora was already really strong in the Sejuani, but once you show it again, the instant response from main team is that Aatrox can still be flexed around between top and mid lane, but I really like it being picked up right here again. And, well, once again setting a stage for the main team to play around all lanes that they want to play around.
Yeah, so finally we do get to see that Aatrox that has been so prominent at World show up right now. And Academy now potentially looking to pick up their bot lane. The Karma once again picked up. I mean, Ashe is also open. They can go towards the same picks here. But the thing is, it didn't really work out last time. But, you can argue the Olaf isn't there to really disrupt them anymore. Are there any other picks who can do that as well as Olaf can? So I don't think it would be necessarily a bad idea here by Myth Academy to just go for the same thing, but it does mean, it leaves them open, or leaves the main team open to no surprise.
Well, like, the thing you just said, of course, and you're completely right, is that Olaf was the biggest, or at the very least, one of the biggest issues that Myth Academy was dealing with. But I dare to say that the second biggest issue was the Blitzcrank on the side of the main team. And while Blitzcrank is still open, was also back then picked in a response to the Academy team picking Karma. So right now, once again, having a response pick available, it wouldn't have surprised me for the main team to pick up the Blitzcrank. But if they go for the Misfortune once again, I believe it should also lead to the Academy team learning from their past mistakes and going for the Blitzcrank ban this time around, because that one was also really difficult for them to deal with.
Well, you said it though, but the thing with the Blitzcrank obviously is, it was also very strong because there were so many picks that they could get. Now that you have a Swain and a Sejuani, those are two targets you already don't really want to hook. Swain could be alright, depending on how early it is in the game and how tanky he already is. So I feel like the Swain pick kind of does make the Blitzcrank a little bit weaker. Does it put him out of contention completely? Absolutely not, because I feel like, especially by the way that Mr. Soul played, there is more than enough reason for the main team to say, all right, we're just going to pick up the Blitz again. It worked, so why change something that is not broken? So we'll see what they're going to do here as the next bans are going to be coming out. Sivir has been taken away from Myth Academy, so we'll see if that could be followed up by a potential Ashe to force them into something that they haven't played in the series just yet. Braum, we saw that last time as well, going to be picked in. It looks like Myth Academy are kind of sticking towards the same-ish plan that they had in the last game. We'll see how much they will switch up in the second part of the picking phase.
Okay, Toki, is my microphone louder right now? And is it by a lot or not? Okay, but is it a lot louder?
Well, the thing, I don't know how much is compared to me.
I don't instantly want to bass boost it. That's the thing.
Gipsy says it's better, so I think for now we are probably alright.
Okay.
As long as I don't sound like a screeching child anymore. Hopefully that's
fair
not
enough.
the case.
Well, the thing is, some people might know computers, and sometimes computers really like when you update them or update some firmware, whatever, to instantly mess around with other settings. So apparently my microphone, and I was thinking that it was because of capture software and such, because I also capture my own games in the background. That's the reason why it was softer. And I was asking my friends on Discord, like, is it loud? Now we can understand you, so it's fine. But right now, you guys are also saying that it wasn't fine. I looked at the settings. It was on 59% out of 100. 100 will probably be bass boosted, so I'm not gonna do that. Right now it's on 80, but it's a good thing to hear it's better. It also filled up a bit of the draft, so right now we can instantly go back into that one again, Toki.
Yeah, because we already see the Nautilus being picked in here towards this bot lane, looking for aggression once again for the main team. It's not necessarily the Blitz, but it's definitely one hook once again, the Dredge line this time around, as we now see a set being played. And I kind of like this from Academy, because definitely what they are doing is, there's already 3 targets you do not want to Dredge line into your team at this point. Swain maybe, but a set, oh no, that could be very much trouble. A Sejuani, same thing, you're giving her a free engage. It was kind of like the Poppy we were talking about last game. So we'll see what Academy are going to pick as their AD carry right now. Unless they're sending the Swain into the bot lane, but it's time for Draven.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought that like Swain would be a bad pick in this situation, because if there's anything that Swain likes is to be in the enemy team, and if the Nautilus wants to go for a pick on the carry, you once again, just like with the Blitzcrank, what we've seen before, you hook him into your team. But apparently Academy doesn't have that much flexible players as the main team has, when we just saw the Olaf coming out. So right now Draven apparently being forced in that scenario. I like him for the fact that the enemy team is still fairly squishy, but the Nautilus can become a really big issue in the disruption in enabling this Draven. So I like the Draven. I've also seen their ADC play on Draven on multiple occasions. He can really pop off on him, but with the safety that this bot lane on the main team has built in, and the pickoff that they also have with the combination Nautilus, Veigar with the baby rage case in the later stages, Lilia of course with the sleep, it is really difficult to pilot a good Draven when it comes to positioning.
And what I really like, especially, definitely true, I feel like it's going to be even more difficult now with that Veigar pick. And why I like this so much is because, well, you said it, you called it the baby rage cage, and it really is. It is
Event Horizon is just...
It's horrible. It's horrible. It is one of the best abilities in the game, in my opinion. It's just too much CC and too much space that you control with just a click of a button. And when you look at the side of Myth Academy, they have 3 champions who want to go in so deep. And what makes this Veigar then so strong is you literally just put a cage on your team and it becomes so difficult to navigate these fights.
Yeah, and of course with the rest of his team, he can of course both function as disengage and engage, because the Event Horizon can also catch people off guard. And you have all sorts of AoE damage being built in once again with the Lilia Misfortune, but this time the Aatrox, like his Q hurt boxes, will be there through the entire fight. And I do like that the Academy team then in response picked a team that doesn't really mind fighting. They like enemy teams that are clumped up together, most notably with the Swain when he gets his demonic ascension. But in the scenario that the Myth main Academy team wants to pick a fight, I fear the worst, that at least a singular carry will be blown up to bits instantly. And if it's the Swain that it happens to, then there's no more draining. There's no more necessarily team fighting in Myth Academy's composition. You do have a Set who can have a nice ultimate, but there's not a lot of follow-up damage, well, because Draven is mostly single target. So I do really wonder what Academy's game plan is when it's completely relying on Swain in the team fight and not really having a lot of great split push when Set can be easily matched by an Aatrox. But, well, maybe the game will tell us something different, because in the end, it's the game that has to be played out, and we've seen less good compositions win on multiple occasions, also on the big stage, when it's just being piloted correctly.
Absolutely. So that is going to be one of the most important questions of the game. Who is going to be piloting their teams better? Now, there's one thing I do want to mention, because you pointed out the split pushing a little bit, because that was definitely a big reason why the main team managed to win the last game, right? Because every time it was the Academy picking a fight somewhere on the map, the main team instantly said, all right, we're going to go to the other side. We're just going to split push because we have Fiora, we have Olaf. We're going to be able to at least make sure that we can 1-3-1 and just pressure all the time. Thing is, this time around, the main team do not really have that double side lane pressure, right? Yes, you can have the teleport on the Veigar, but it's not necessarily one of the champions that's going to be the quickest pusher like what an Olaf would be. Aatrox also, again, can split push. It's going to be great in the side lane, but it's not the Fiora who's going to be much faster as well. So that pressure is definitely a little bit less. Now, they have, traded that for very big team fighting prowess. So to me, it kind of looks like maybe the main team this time around want to challenge the Academy where the Academy wanted to challenge them in the first game. Go for actual team fights, and that could mean that we can get a very exciting 5-on-5 team fighting game.
Yeah, and even though it's a finals that we're looking at, it's still an Academy team playing their main roster. So at the same time, it might also be the main team wanting to show their skill, wanting to display it in, these kind of series to show that they're not locked into just playing one thing. They can play multiple things, and instantly showing that they want to do what the Academy team want to do last game, and the Academy team once again looks, well, I don't want to say clueless when it comes to reaction, but it doesn't really feel like this is the way to play into the team fighting, because there is a decent amount of catch, I guess. You can get a nice Swain never move, pull someone in, Sejuani ult as a follow-up, and make sure that Draven gets the kill fighting a 4v5 next. But it feels like it's really dependent on how the early game, most notably on the bot lane, plays out, and then the team fights hopefully go into your advantage, because the moment that the main team can make their move first in wanting to play a team fight, I'd say you're once again on the back foot. And we've seen it last game, Myth Academy doesn't look too strong when they're on the back foot.
Definitely true. Now, we do notice, of course, I mean, we kind of expected this, obviously, but the Karma is going to be gone to the mid lane. We didn't talk about this before, but the Karma will be sent over towards the mid lane against the Veigar, which kind of means that the Veigar is probably going to be able to farm that quite easily. But it is a set to the bot lane, so aggression.
No, it's the Swain
in the bot lane. Oh, no, it will be the Swain. Sorry, yeah, the Swain being set to the bot lane. I kind of wanted to point on that, but I was so confident that it was not going to be sent to the bot lane, but it will be. That definitely leaves,
and they're still swapping.
No, and okay,
and
so
now it's Karma.
We're being fooled.
Okay,
we're being fooled by the players.
So let's make let's make one thing clear. Players can't swap anymore past the 20-second mark. So now they're still swapping it around. They can fool us a little bit. I would, by the way, 100% agree with switching this Karma to the mid lane. And it doesn't have to do that I have zero trust in Viking on his Karma OTP or Chained Up not being able to pilot Swain, but it makes sense in the way that when I was seeing this team play in tryouts and their scrim games, Chained Up was 9 out of 10 times playing a supportive mid laner, whether it was Seraphine or something else that could be able to, or like that is able to set up for his team. And then when you give him a champion like Karma, he can basically do the same thing. So right now we're actually going in game. Things have switched around, and we have a Karma on top lane against Aatrox, which is safe. The Swain still being piloted by Chained Up into Veigar, which is fine, because well, when you're playing around that range, it should be doable. But the set into Nautilus is an aggressive lane I've seen on multiple occasions from Viking, but the issue for me right here is that Set most notably is a counter pick. If Nautilus engages and he takes me, I get a free engage. But you want to play the aggressive game here, because you have a Draven right next to you, so why don't you want the incentive to engage instead of waiting for Nautilus to hook you? So I'm going to be surprised how Viking is going to wanting to play this out, but you never know.
You never know, indeed. I mean, you will have the hex flash option. So that's probably something that we're going to be seeing a lot from Viking, looking for those hex flash plays to make it happen. Sets always tend to do that. Go into the bushes, make sure they are like unwatered, and just like hex flash every now and then, and just see if you can catch the Misfortune or even the Nautilus out of guard. So we'll see how that's going to happen. But I think what now looks to be the most important thing here for the side of the Myth Academy to go for is they have a Sejuani in jungle. Now, Sejuani in jungle is certainly capable of doing early game ganks, right? Plus, they have the Swain in towards the bot lane and the Sweat in the bot lane and the Swain into the mid lane. Swain has a pretty easy way to catch Veigar out. Veigar doesn't have any way to get himself out of harm's way, of course, apart from the cage. So there is definitely options here for Myth Academy to look for aggression in the early game with the Sejuani, ganking towards that mid lane, ganking towards that bot lane, forcing early flashes, and maybe looking to get the team ahead, because that is something the Academy have yet to be in this series.
Yeah, and I guess the big takeaway from last game is that both teams want to play around their strong side bot lane. Once again, it's the case. Draven sat on one side, Draven wanting the prio from minute one. Misfortune, well, we just saw Kip have a really nice performance, but there might be a little more disruption now to play around with Draven stand aside, but still a really nice one to have available for yourself to at the very least say to yourself, we just won, so why would we change the winning strategy? So that is, of course, also really fine. When it's once again going to be bloodshed around these dragons, I'm hoping this time around that the team that gets the first dragon may be able to snowball the next couple of dragons as well, because what we saw last game was dragons being traded. One time it was the Academy team that got one, then it was the main team again, then the Academy after some, well, great clown fiesta on the bot lane, you can almost say, then it's the main team again. So I'd like to see some cleaner plays, of course, both from both sides, but at the very least, we can all say that the mentality is there, the knowledge is there, and most importantly, the rotation game on both sides. We've seen it with the Herald play in the early game from the Academy team, but also with the cross-map plays all around from the main team. So I wonder what's going to come out on top this time around when they're both playing completely different styles.
Exactly. Well, we're going to be seeing it very soon, as we soon almost get ourselves into this next
Do you want to roll another
matchup? Ad? Hell yeah, let's do it, Mr. Dermot.
Let's try and get the ad correctly right now. It's Boom Energy, there we go. Once again, forgot to mute the sound. Excuse my French. There we go. Where do we... Are we going to attempt the 20-second mark again, or are we doing something completely different?
Well, you know what? It didn't work out last time, but I have full faith that it will work this time, so let's try it again.
Yeah, okay, so then we're going with the 3, 2, 1, and let's get this game started. Right.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2 between the Myth main team and the Myth Academy team. I will not get used to this during the entire game, I'm pretty sure. But oh, we could have some spice in the early game, because this is a 5v5 level 1. Look at the city doing so much damage. First blood over to the Draven. Vikings trying to run away. Will be able to get out. Kip is now in trouble. That's a kill to the Academy team. Can they find 3? Velocblade flashes in but cannot find any. Staken is trying to run away. 4 kills to the Academy team but never won.
I believe we can right now say that this is the play that they wanted to make, right? Like, having 2 kills on the Draven this early to the game, and also 2 kills on the Karma, like Elina having a great matchup right now into the Aatrox. It's... I did maybe expect Elina to get something else, like Dark Seal, of course, a really strong item, and maybe rushing towards it Oblivion Orb for the laning phase and a lot of healing on the Aatrox, but no, it's just a more supportive itemization. But look at that Draven, that's a serrated Dirk already!
Dermot, I just want to say, as an AD carry main, I put myself for this moment into Kip's shoes. This is the most unplayable thing that I've ever seen in my life. If you have to face a Draven with serrated Dirk at level 1, man even got himself a pink ward. This is an absolute disaster for the main team. And I feel like this game is already going to be showing how well they are mentally, because this is going to be very difficult. And here we see it. The Hex Flash already coming in from Viking. They're looking for an early engage. And look at the damage he deals with Soul.
Oh my god!
Auto attacks.
insanity right there coming out from the Academy team. And now it's basically the situation that we had last game, really early into the game, and now our expectations, how will the main team play it out? Because they've been in the driver's seat for the entirety of game number 1. So how will they look for an opportunity to come back when Chained Up is making interesting movements this time around, but knowing that he has the advantage on the bot side, how strong they are out of that level 1 play, he can easily move himself into that bot side enemy jungle, making sure that there's vision, and now this Draven is fed. It looks like they're looking for Mistaken right there.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they can do, right? They are this far
it's the
ahead
Hex
in this early
Flash
game. So the Hex Flash has come over, and yeah, Mistaken is just going to have to run away. There's nothing he can do to challenge this because his bot lane is underneath the turret. This is a disastrous start here for the side of the main team, but more importantly, this is a great start for the Academy team. And if they can just propel this lead forward and get themselves to 1-1, this series is wide open.
Yeah, most definitely indeed that is the case, but the good thing for the main side is that they are still taking the game fairly slowly. It's not that they have the scaling on their side, but there is a lot of scaling to be found with that Veigar, most importantly in the mid lane, and they're looking for their own play now on the top side of the map.
Yeah, Alina could be in trouble here. Velocity is very low, still wants to go in. That's going to be the flash force. The Mistaken doesn't really have a lot of CC. The red buff might do the work here because there's so much damage on the Lilia, but that is a very good Mantra W that gives Alina all the health he needs to get back into it. As Viking doesn't hit it, and now Mr. Soul tries to hit the hook, but he is just taking the damage himself because once again, Space with that serrated Dirk is absolutely murdering the side of Kip and Mr. Soul. And it could get worse because Ferrari now could be looking for a gank. Are they going to stay on the turret? It looks like that's what they're trying to do. Mr. Sword is trying to stop this. Will get stunned up. Will flash away. There is going to be a turret shot onto Ferrari. The teleports are coming in. Both teleports actually coming in. And now the main team are turning it around. Ferrari could be looking to get away. Viking is going to be the sacrificial lamb. 2 teleports though. Can Space get out? The change will not get him backwards. And now Ferrari manages to run away. Chain Up is finally here. So 2 teleports for 1 kill. You have to consider, is that worth it?
I mean, you might question that, but Ferrari being so low already, he can't necessarily, I mean, I'd say, make his reset and go for Dragon immediately if Myth with their main team want to fight it right now. Oh, well, we get a small technical pause, but that's maybe also really nice for me to explain things happening right now. If you'd ask me, Velociblade's top lane wave being frozen by Alina is omega doomed. Yeah. Like, there's no way for him to crash it for free. If anything, he has to sacrifice a lot of his HP, and with the Dragon timer being only 20 seconds, and the matter of fact that Ferrari got sent back to base as well with this reset, this could have been a 5-man Dragon that does lose the main team a lot of gold on the top side of the map, but does secure yourself a nice objective for free. Can't really be contested, and look for other plays around the rest of the map, because right now you want to play that Starlane game, and well, maybe taking this first dragon is enough to make sure that on 4 dragons in, we don't instantly see a soul appearing on the side of the Academy team, because they are right now 2k gold ahead, most notably, of course, Door, because of that, yeah.
We're still Dutch, you know, it's fine.
We're still Dutch, we can mess up stuff. No, but like, of course, most notably because of that early game play, and that was a mess. We can start with that. But the fact that it went in favor of Myth Academy is really great for them, and it makes them able to move over the map so freely that they force out these 2 teleports. So it's interesting to me how right now the main team is dealing with it, that they're not going for the dragon. But yeah, that's the choice they've made. Also, is only my screen frozen, or is it for you too?
No, this is both. I'm pretty sure this is the classic expected bug. Yeah, there we go. It's good now.
I just want to make sure that I wasn't frozen and you you weren't, and then you're like, oh, but I'm already 5 minutes in game, and for some reason the main team got aced again. Nah, it wasn't the case.
No, we are completely fine, but it's a good point that you're mentioning, yeah, because at least maybe they could have gotten themselves a dragon, but I think the biggest problem was, and the best part of the timing of this gank from the Academy team was the fact that the dragon was still 20 seconds away once this all was done, right? So if they wanted to go for the dragon, they had to completely waste 20 seconds in order to get that for their team. which would have then made it so much worse when it comes to XP, when it comes to gold for the side of the top and the mid laners of the main team. So
it's already doomed. Just sacrifice it.
That is true, but you have to
team.
consider: is a dragon going to win you the game, or is trying to get back, trying to gather as much XP as you can, get you back in the game? Now, it does mean, of course, that they will lose this dragon. So that is not the greatest here for the side of the main team, but. Also, one of the biggest things is that they don't have teleports anymore. So there is not a lot of crazy plays that they can make around the map. So the question now is here for the main team, what can they find in order to turn this game around? They're gonna have to look for a shutdown in towards this bot or top lane.
Yeah, and that's why I was talking about the dragon play. It is not necessarily the most efficient if you're doing nothing for 20 seconds, but you have invested already. The fact that you are using 2 teleports, maybe to only get 1 kill out of it, is an investment by itself. So you either choose to full-on commit, and right now they chose not to, which just makes it really weird to make the investment in the first place. Like, you also could have just sacked bot lane and made sure you yourself on mid and top got the EXP. So those are all choices that were made in this process by the main team. And in the end, what you're getting out of it is a singular kill on the support who I believe didn't really have a shutdown, and well, isn't necessarily worth that much, because knowing Viking, he will sacrifice himself more often for his team than maybe even necessary, so you won't get a lot of gold out of this guy either way. And it still gave the reset to Ferrari and Viking to instantly pressure out the dragon, and making sure that, well, Space is already so far ahead. If Viking stays with him, it's probably even worse, because right now you can funnel in so much more EXP into this Raven. He is level 5, almost hitting level 6, while Skip is only level 4, still sitting in lane with, well, now Mr. Salt is gone, but he's now sitting in lane with Alina.
But look at what they're doing right now. The side of the Academy team, they just decided to lane swap because the Herald is going to be the next objective that's going to be coming up. So they can just completely play around that without the main team being able to even challenge this, because they don't have a bot lane on that side. Yes, the support has gone there, but Kip is not going to be there, which means Kip, despite the fact that he's alone in his bot lane, still going to have a hard time farming because he's facing a 2-0 Karma. As we now see a fight here, Ferrari has gone for the engage. So much
Mistaken is level 6.
Onto Mistaken. There's the whirling death. Will not find death at the moment. Good knockup from Velocity. Keeps the team away. But now chained up in the mid lane looking for a play. That's a lot of damage coming out. Just needs one more Q to get the finishing blow. Will find it. Flashes away. And it's a solo bolo in the mid lane.
Yeah, and that's really bad for the main team. We're still fighting here on top. Mistaken was level 6 before Ferrari, but Ferrari might look to hit it as well if he gets one more camp. I think it's really, really strange how the main team in the end, most likely, or like how you'd like to call it, divide up their forces, still leaving Kip on the bot lane just like last game. But last game they were ahead, so they were basically able to do it for free. Right now he's being bullied away by a level 8 Karma. He himself only just hitting, or like dinking level 6. And he's 30 CS behind on his counterpart, of course being Space in that lane with Dirk. Yeah, it's a tough cookie right now, 4K behind. Finding the right rotations is of course really, really difficult. But it should still be doable, and don't forget that they still have the Viger in their team. So
true, but look
basically,
at this.
I want to say the same thing as for the Academy team last game. They need to find a way to take to take the driver's seat away from the Academy team, but with these
it's
micro,
so
yeah, it is really hard, and there's also a lot of micro mistakes being made, because right here we just saw Mistaken also reset his Grom, so that also takes away a lot of time. And you said before as well, right now EXP and gold is the most important thing, and you want to take it most efficiently as possible. So if you're not doing that because, well, maybe you're slightly tilted, or you don't really know what to do or where to find it right now because you're this behind, that's a really bad sign for a team. So right now what I'm hoping for the main team is that they can find their footing again, and maybe that will be in the top lane, where Alina on its own with only 2 quote-unquote support items, because it is the Banlock Lesson Mirror with the Kindle Gem, is already half-shotting their carries.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and look what's just happened here, because what the Myth Academy did, they sent, of course, their bot lane over towards the top lane, got themselves the Herald. Myth main team thought, okay, let's send our bot lane here towards the top lane so that we can make sure that space is not going to free farm. But the Academy instantly said, alright, we'll just send our bot lane back towards the bot lane, because the Dragon is going to be the next objective. We have a Herald in our hands, we can just put this right onto the Draven, and there's nothing that you guys are going to be able to do about this. They're even going to share the money with Viking, because they are that far ahead. And contrary to the first game that we just watched, Dermot, the Academy team are completely outplaying them in terms of macro gaming. Now, obviously, yes, they had this crazy start, which makes it much easier to do so.
They're still looking for
could
this
see a
fight.
team fight now. But look at the Draven damage! The Whirling Death gets them all. He is drowsy now, though, so can they finish him off? This could be a very, very big shutdown. They will get the shutdown onto the Draven. Ferrari and Viking are now trying to fight off Mistaken and Kip, but they are doing so much damage. And the main team, when it comes to team fights, are looking so strong in both these games. Now Viking, in so much trouble, is going to fall, and the main team find a miracle fight to get them back into the game.
Yeah, but the real question is, will this translate into a Dragon pick? Because right now they are 2v2 in that bot lane, and you still have a fairly healthy Kip for the win in comparison to Ferrari, who just has taken his reset, so not anymore. I would have liked to see them rush it, with maybe the investment of teleports towards the tower for Velociblade, so he could help as well, but right now it doesn't really look like they think they have the resource to do it, so once again giving away a free Dragon. And it's not even the worst for the Academy team, because all this time when they were fighting on the bot lane, it was a 4v5 in their disadvantage, because Alina was splitting that top lane. And I dare to say, when Alina is starting to join these fights, because he is playing support Karma and not the carry Variant with like Ludens and such, she will be able to let space run to the moon. Like, there's so much movement speed and shielding available, he can kite his heart out and show the world what he's made of when he gets his hands on this Draven. And with that in mind, it's just really difficult for the main team to find an opening like they just did, because, well, that was a 4v5 scenario, and right now we're slowly but steadily looking to those 5v5s.
Yeah, and well, speaking of that opening, it's not even an opening that they necessarily got themselves, right? It's because the overzealousness that we saw from the Academy team. If they just said, hey, we're going to just put this Herald down, we're going to give the money over to our Draven, and we're just going to go away, nothing of that would have happened. They just decided to overstay a little bit and made a tiny mistake. That got the main team a bit of gold back. Now, again, it's not a game, you know, deciding mistake. But speaking of a good play here from the Academy team, they absolutely crushed Mistaken. Velociblade trying to run away. Alina could be able to pick that up with Flash. Flash going to come in. Needs one more auto attack. Will be able to find it. And that is going to be 2 kills over to the Academy team.
Yeah, and that is what I was talking about earlier. When this Karma start joining the fights as well, making sure to speed up this Draven to slash or to throw his axes through the enemies, it will be an insane DPS outpost. And they're just proving me right instantly. When Viking may be a little bit greedy, I don't think it's really that bad.
I mean, it was a bit greedy, I think, honestly, for Mr. Soul to go for that hook there, because that was 4 people that instantly piled up on him. Another kill over to the Academy team, and look at this. We talked about the 5,000 gold lead in game 1 at 15 minutes. We are 13.5 minutes in, and it is almost higher than 8,000 gold at the moment, Dermot. This is an absolute destruction from the Academy team at the moment.
Yeah, it's also, of course, a little bit because of a couple champions in the game. I mean, I say a couple, most notably one. Draven is one of those inflation gamers. Pike isn't necessarily here, because that would have been even worse. Than I think this gold deficit would have been around the 1.5k. Could have been a decent estimate, but yeah, his passive allows him to gain so much more gold of kills than the enemy champions would when they get them, and he's sitting on 5 already, so, well, they can just count out the profit they made right there, and that means for the Academy team that their Draven is sitting on their full mythic item, plus a Last Whisper and the Dirk, looking to complete that Lord Dominic's regards rather soon. And on the other side, Kip struggling to get his CS on point as well, because of that laning phase being so damn difficult. Not having his mythic completed. Maybe there is Viking to be picked off. I know that he really likes to go in deep for warding, what he just did. But he's playing set. He can do that. He can just say return to sender if necessary and then just walk away once again. So he knows the advantage his team is playing with is making sure there's a little bit of vision that immediately gets taken down, but at least he traded something for something. And with that, they also get the pressure to take the top side turret.
Yep. Turret down, Herald down, and now it's just more and more trouble here for the main team. And it was a free pickup, right? Because LeBronzy was in the bot lane, so didn't have the teleport, wasn't able to join that fray, and Kip had backed. So right now, Kip is just, as you said, fighting to get every single bit of CS that he can, but there is so much control here for the side of the Academy team. They could even be looking for a dive in the top lane.
It looks like they will. It's a 4v1 and Velociblade prematurely pops the ultimate. World Ender is gone for the next fight. And also note that Alina is not there yet to help his team if necessary, but he makes sure that the pressure is up in the mid lane.
Yeah, you can see them all moving around the jungle. Luckily, that one ward into that red buff bush is going to give the main team a little bit of information of where they are going at the moment. There's the Herald going to be popped for Lost Blade. Does not have the World Ender at the moment, so not going to be too scary when it comes to this next fight. The Herald is going to hit this turret. That's going to be another turret down. A lot of gold over towards the Academy team. They're just going to decide to back off. They don't need to fight. They can just wait and go towards the dragon, although Ferrari is forced to flash, so that's a little bit of a win for the main team.
Yeah, I don't even know if that flash was 100% necessary, because in the end he is Sejuani and there was still a lot of his team for backup to help him there, but if they don't want to cancel their recalls, that's a yikers for him. The good thing, of course, is that this dragon should be fairly free for the Academy team to pick up. The main team had to invest a lot of resource and most notably time in the top lane, sitting there making sure that the Herald didn't get any more than it already did. And that might set it up for an almost more difficult gambit later on into this game. Because if this third dragon gets picked up by the Academy team, that sets them on 3 dragons in total. That means the next dragon will make sure that Soul is theirs. The enemy team, the main team, is sitting on 0 dragons yet. So the moment that both objectives, being Dragon and Baron, are available on the map, it puts you in a position of power when you are the Academy team sitting there. You can go for the Dragon Soul, or you can contest Baron and give the other objective away to the other team. Giving one dragon away isn't that big of a deal in this situation for the Academy team if you can pick up Baron and finish the game with it. But the other way around, threatening Soul is really difficult to respond to by the main team when they are looking for a fight when Chained Up is being caught off guard. Oh, Viking!
Yeah, but the flash is huge, and the Whirling Death doing so much damage towards the main team. They cannot get over the wall to finish them off, however, but the main team have just been shown a bit of space going with the flash in. That could be a little bit too greedy, but they will get themselves at least one kill. Chained Up gets the kill onto Mr. Salt, and this dragon is going to be free for the taking, and they might even look for a bot side turret as well.
Did you see that vision of the Empire as well? Chained Up hitting not 1 but 2 targets, making sure that they are crippled and not being able to get away from Space and the rest of the team. Of course, there was a miracle play already being made by Viking with this insane flash, locking up 2 people and forcing them to flash, but if you add everything around, we see a completely different Academy team than what we've seen in Game 1, and we might have an actual series on our hands.
And I love to see that from the Academy team, right? Like, the first game, it looked like, okay, this is just going to be a complete difference because the main team was just rolling over them. But now, yes, of course, it is one of those high variance plays where you get the crazy level 1. And if that wouldn't have happened, this game could have been, of course, completely different. But the point of the matter is, it happened. And the Academy team are making great use of it. So we can say what we want, but there's nothing you can take away from them. Especially not from Chained Up, because he just solo boloed the top laner as well.
Yeah, and both sides, you'd say, have a lot of sustain. But Velociblade having more cooldowns related to that makes sure that he needs to find the grave. He also could have taken away by looking at Tap that he right now is really behind, only on 109 CS against the fairly fat Swain. So taking that fight in the first place might have been a mistake, but you have to risk it right now. These are the moments that 10-90% plays, if they fall in favor of those 10%, you might be able to take back the game. You get yourself a nice shutdown, it's 450 gold sitting on the Swain, and an Aatrox can do an awful lot with that amount of gold. Right now it's just not really, falling in the right place for him, but not taking those risks means that you're just sitting back and waiting for the enemy to end the game. So in that perspective, it's really honorable for him, or like a really good thing for him to see that he takes those risks and willing to do that for his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, they're going to have to take more risks, because if you could take a look at the gold lead at the moment, we are almost 20 minutes in. It's an 11 1,000 gold difference here in favor of the side of the Academy team. And when you look at the items, you see it's completely right. Because look at the mid lane, for example. There's 2.5 items almost completed on the Swain against the 1 item on the Vega. Then you have almost 3 items on Space against the 1 completed item and a crit cloak on the side of Kip. Top lane, same thing. It's 2.5 items.
I do believe they just spotted Mistaken, so that means that it's a free start for the Baron.
They take it.
On spawn, they will just try and brute force it, and there's no one on the side of the main team who can respond to it. There's not even a sneaky steal attempt. All they can do is hope to get chained up with a cross-map play, but he still has his ultimate available.
It's going to be a hard kill. Can they find it? That's bullet time is definitely going to do a lot of work. It's a big shutdown for the side of the main team, but the Baron has been taken away for the Academy team. And yes, you get yourself a little consolation prize, but what is it going to matter in the long run as this mid lane turret is already going to be pushed down?
Yeah, and Kip, he doesn't have ultimate anymore. He can't use it for wave clear either, so it looks like they're just going to brute force themselves through that mid lane, trying to get an inhib as fast as possible, because I think the Academy team knows all too well that the Dragon Soul for them is also spawning in 2 minutes, so try and get as much done as possible right now so you can start the setup in about 1 minute.
Oh, that's a good hook though. They might find Space. Brilliant stuff there by Mr. Salt. Unfortunately, it is him who gets the shutdown, but most importantly, they stop the push from the Academy team.
Yeah, and is that unfortunate? Well, of course, the gold being sent to this support might be a bit awkward if you prefer to have it on carries, but we also just saw Kip, who got his fair shutdown on Chained Up, so he also got a decent amount of gold in his pocket. I think it's more of a sign to Space in the end that he probably shouldn't be as aggressive as he has been playing thus far into this game, because these kind of spots can happen. And if this happens one more time, he is one of the main carries for his team, and on a moment that Chained Up has only barely respond and can't really help them, it's really dangerous to make these kind of plays. And as you can see, main team instantly punishes for that. When he falls away and there's no Chained Up, there's no way to win the team fight.
And it's one of those things, right? Once you are so far ahead, as you said, you cannot get overconfident. You still have to play it slow. You know, you can look for those more aggressive plays because you can, but the thing is, it's always more important to go for the plays that are certain rather than look for those crazy plays by being extra aggressive just because you are fed. You have to play it slow. And well, right now, Space, you know, it was just a single mistake, but I don't think it's going to matter too much in the long run of this game because, again, the deficit is still 11,500 gold. It's not like a lot has changed. We said it before, the gold has already gone onto Mr. Salt instead of any of the carries. So, you know, a little misstep, it can happen at this point, and it is fine for the Academy team. They just have to make sure they don't make many of those happen, because there is still, of course, a way for the main team to come back, and it would be an absolute shame for the Academy team if they were to somehow lose this game.
Yeah, and it's still a really difficult position for the main team, because even with those shutdowns cashed in, we right now see that there were a lot of pings on the top lane, Velociblade pushing that out, but his teleport is still on cooldown. It's halfway there, so it will never be up in time for this Dragon. Chained Up and Alina, on the other hand, both sitting on that teleport, so they can surely make the follow-up if necessary, if their team wants to try and force this Dragon, of course. So right now for the main team, it looks like you'd need to make a pick-off, because if you start a team fight all out, your top laner isn't there, it's going to be really difficult. But yeah, whilst I was saying that, Dragon is gone, that means that the soul right now is secured for Myth Academy, and they are looking to instantly end the game with it.
Ooh. Glacial Prison goes wide. It was actually the Academy team looking for a pick over there, as we now see Velociblade maybe looking for a play onto Alina, but it's just so difficult to do. I mean, this is a Karma with 3 items and a Warden's Mill. Look at the damage that she is dealing at the moment. Could she do it in a 2v2? Because here comes the teleport down, and it looks like Mistaken is trying to kind of give up.
Oh, look how fast he is!
Back in. He is so fast. Chained Up just running through. Lilia is known as one of the faster champions in the game, but not when Chained Up is here to chain him up. Mistaken taking so much damage. Will not be able to make it out here. Oh well, the never move and everything misses. That's a great interrupt here on the side of Ferrari. Kip is dead, and now Space can just run through the team. Is tanking the turret though, so has to be careful. Brilliant flash by Ferrari. Defenses AD carry. Does he trade his life? No, he does not. Space has the cleanse, has the move, has the groove, and gets himself another kill onto the support, as now Mistaken finally is called out and surely is going to have to lay down his life. Academy team, great fight for them on both sides of the map.
What a supreme display of skill we're right now seeing from the Academy team. With 14k in their pockets, they're looking to find an angle for the end. When
look at that angle.
Space.
Good flash as well from Space. Looking so good in this game. Yes, he made a mistake, but oh my lord, does it not matter when you play it this well? That is going to be a bot lane turret going down as well. They might even be looking for the inhibitor. Kip might be stepping up a bit too far. He is certainly stepping up too far. He just dies. Academy might be looking for an end.
I think this is most definitely the angle. We see one second that's already up. Lilia right now spawning in, but it's 16 seconds until we see the Veigar, which has a lot of wave clear, since Mistaken Assault both need to get closer to it. So they are
the never
making
move
the Hail Mary.
is so beautiful. And they tried to make the Hail Mary play, but it did not come to be. That is one turret down. That is two turrets down. Academy, Myth Academy, they managed to find a crazy comeback into this series. They got destroyed in the first game, but by God, do they destroy in the second game. It is 1-1, and we have a series on our hands.
I also want to add to that blue side OP. Right now, 2 games in. Blue side having, of course, the majority of the victories. Basically saw the same thing in Worlds Finals, of course, but there it was red side that won out in the final game. So maybe we might see an upset again today as well. Looking back at the game itself, Toki, it is really strange to say this, but this game was, almost decided minute 1. Oh, I'm actually a little bit too fast with clicking. I still had the stats available. Oops. That's my bad.
But no, I feel like you're completely right. This was definitely a minute 1 decider. And yes, you know, it's never completely over. And those level 1 deficits, they can be turned around. But I feel like the biggest problem is that first, one of the most kills went, first of all, towards the top lane. That was the least big problem. It's still a big problem because that means the Karma is never going to be in trouble against the Aatrox. Second of all, 2 kills, 2 assists over to, of all champions, a Draven. It literally is the worst champion to get those kills on against early. Gets the serrated Dirk, and I said it before, as an AD carry player, that lane is completely unplayable from then on. And we saw it.
I was about to say,
best, but wasn't able to do anything.
I believe I recall a tweet from you, Toki, that as an AD carry main, there's like one champion in particular you really like to hear his banning sound, and that might be the champion being played here, Draven. Can you say that he's his your nemesis in this game, and that's why you never want to fight him?
I mean, I feel like I've heard his voice more than any other AD carry's voice, mainly because I ban him all the time. So, yeah, no, 100%. It's not that you can't play against him, but the thing about a Draven is obviously that when he gets ahead, whether it's by a jungle gank, whether it's by a level 1 like this, sometimes it just becomes too difficult to play the game. But we'll see whether both of these teams, what's going to change now, right? Because Academy team just stomped the side of the main team. First game, the main team managed to stomp the Academy team. Who's going to stomp next? Or are we going to get a close game? We'll see it very soon after the break. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a banger finals that we have here between Myth's main team and, of course, the Myth Academy. We are going to get straight as once again into the draft phase because these teams are ready to get it on once again. We saw a stomp one side, we saw a stomp to the other side. What are we going to see in this game? It is going to be the main team on the blue side around this time, Dermot.
Yeah, it's a big question mark for me what's even going to happen right now, because we've seen two complete stomps from both sides, so we know that both teams have it in it, or in them. But right now, blue side being really victorious and having seen an amazing draft from the main team on the first game, I can't say anything else than that I think that the main team has another surprise for us. Like, the Academy team right now stands for a dilemma. Do they still want to go for the same bans as we've seen in game number 2? Or do they want to ban the Olaf? And of course they ban the Olaf!
I was just going to mention it.
Such a big threat to deal with in game number 1.
It really was. Now, it does leave the Aatrox open, and yes, maybe it didn't really work out last game. It also didn't really get a chance, right? Let's be honest. You had to face a 2-0-2 Karma level 1 immediately, and then a bot lane that decided to come over towards the top side. So, Aatrox didn't really get to play the game, so maybe this time around the main team will get to play around him a little bit more. We'll see what the Academy will decide to do against it. Now, Vi is being hovered. This is a pick that was actually banned against them in the first game, and the Academy say, we're going to instantly take it.
Yeah, it is a really early one. Normally when you see a champion like Vi, you see her paired up with instant pick-off, like an Ahri on the mid lane or something in that trend. She's also being called the budget Lee Sin because there's still a lot of point and click, but you don't really have the, the kick back into your team. You have to pick them off with just the Q entrance and then ulting them in the same place. So it's interesting for me to see that they want to pick the Vi so early, not in combination with such a champion, but once again, Karma being so flexible in the Academy team. What else can I say? It can still go towards the top lane, but I think that Viking might be going back to Karma duty.
Oh yes, he might just be doing that indeed. As we now on the main team see Sejuani and Silas being picked. Now this already looks like a comp that wants to just go in and dive onto the side of Academy. Yeah, and I like it especially as well against the pick like the Vi and the Karma, right? Because Vi kind of wants to go in and wants to look for picks as well. But how are you going to find that against these 3 tanky members that are just going to be looking for you instead? And, well, we have the Karma, but we're going to get the Arcane Sisters. And as a Jinx / powder lover myself, I love to see that Jinx being picked up by the side of Academy. But, my god, it is going to be a difficult game.
Yeah, and also, I want to add to that, Sejuani, of course, in game 1 didn't really get on the point where it wanted to go. So right now it's really nice to see it being picked in the jungle for the main team instead of the top lane where it went for the Academy. And if you combine it with 2 melee side laners or like solo laners, I think that is one of the things that really caps a champion like Sejuani, that if you pick it with something else, with like ranged laners, it's going to be so much more difficult to get the stun off with your passive, with your E. And right now you instantly have that setup to play a really strong side on the top lane, and for the first time in this series, maybe pick a weaker side bot lane. You can just leave them there, let them skill, and get a champion, a roaming champion that I really love with the Blitzcrank earlier that has been banned right now, but maybe another champion can take its place from the support, Mr. Salt, I believe.
Yep, so we'll see what's going to happen as, you said it right, the Blitz has been taken away, so Academy putting a lot of respect on that Blitzcrank, and it's honestly understandable. I don't know if Blitz was going to be picked for the main team anyway, because I don't feel like he super fits into the composition that they have drafted for themselves at the moment, but, you know, it's one of those picks that you might as well get rid of. Now, Braum, once again, has been taken away every single second round by the side of the Academy team, as now Vex also being taken away from Silas. Also very understandable, right? Vex is one of those champions that is very difficult to dive into. But the Donga has been picked. We are seeing literally Arcane Season 2 out here. What is happening?
And then Lucianami, instantly the response from the main team. No hesitation, they just lock it in. And all my mind can think right now is, what is this Heimerdinger going to be doing? Because once again, I do talk very often with Viking, and when I said for the memes, Heimerdinger is a fun champion, I've been playing it in Flex and I'm Diamond now, so just play it Omega LOL. He said, nah man, why would I ever play a champion like this? But the past couple of weeks or months that we've seen Heimerdinger, he's being played in the support role. He is still highly flexible. Like, I dare to say he's being able to be played in every single role. Maybe not jungle, but top lane he's fine, mid lane he's fine, ADC and support he's just a really great disruptor. So it's once again a champion you can do a lot with. And even when I say I don't think that Viking will be the one playing it, it's still such a devastating champion in the mid lane into Sylas. It's a nice ultimate to steal, but it's not the ultimate you'd like to see on Sylas. And Heimerdinger with the control as well of the lane when Sylas constantly wants to be trading into him. I just like it being picked up, but to see it, well, in this stage, and I can't say anything else than raise your dongers in the chat, my guys.
Yeah,
come on.
Absolutely. Raise them in. And I think it's honestly, actually, well, to your surprise, right? Because, well, I don't know the players as well as you do, obviously. So it's interesting to hear that story behind it as well. But I feel like when you look at the composition of the main team, it does make a lot of sense, actually, to pick the Heimerdinger here. Because if there's anything Heimerdinger loves, is that people dive into his team, right? You set up those turrets, you set up this defensive wall that's going to be very difficult to come into. And then you have a Jinx with a Karma on the backline as well to just chop up all the people who are engaging. It's going to be very difficult for the main team to look for spots if Myth Academy are able to set up, right? Because that is going to be where the importance is really going to come through.
Heimerdinger is multi-purpose. Like, if you know his advanced combos, which I know it sounds really weird that a champion like Heimerdinger has that, but not a lot of people know it. But if you play Heimerdinger, you throw that max range grenade, you have all the time in the world to place down another turret, it will instantly be charged with a laser beam for that extra 50% damage. But of course, aside from that, jokingly, he doesn't always need to go for ultimate with his turrets. Like, of course, it is great zone control. His turrets by themselves are already a menace to deal with. If there's an even bigger turret with that, 9 to 10 times you're not getting out alive. But this champion also really great at making pickoffs if necessary. Do not underestimate the bouncing grenade that he has. It has a lot of range. It stuns 3 times, and people will be taken off guard with this ability with the range that it has. Of course, when you play lower elo Heimerdinger, you see a lot of the rockets because they deal a lot of damage. I don't necessarily see it in this situation unless you have a target with the Karn, with the Vi locked up for multiple seconds, so you know that the sweet spot is easy to hit, and with that you can hit them. But right now Heimerdinger is just there for both the team fights that, well, like you said, there's no way to engage for the main team, but also if there's a pick-off to be made, he has the range to do it.
He does indeed, and especially when you have a Vi in your team as well, it's going to be easier to pick those off as well. Now, despite all of that, I do feel like Vi is a little bit of a misfit in this. That's not a pun intended for the people who know the songs of Arcane, but I feel like she doesn't fit too well into this composition. I do think she can work, of course, against the Lucian. That is one of those picks that she can be looking for in towards this early game. Now, when we're looking at these picks, I'm not too sure, because we saw the switcheroos happen in the last game. Is this a Karma mid? I think it might be. I'm not entirely sure just yet, though, because I feel like Heimerdinger mid would also make sense, and especially since you've thought about how Viking was definitely not going to be playing Heimerdinger, this could just be a Viking Heimerdinger.
Why does he always do this to me? When I say he's 100% not doing something, and I tell him, but you should do it because I like it, and then he suddenly does it. Yeah. Like, it's something that I've seen from him before, and right now he proves me wrong. Like, he's also that kind of player that when you tell him, like, you should first time this on stage, he will do it. He will first say to you, I won't do it because I have better champions. But the moment he gets the chance, he's like, well, you said I could pick it, and maybe it's wrong, so maybe I'll try it, just to mess with you a bit. And of course, then we'll see some swaps around in the champion select, and we still don't know where everyone's going.
We just got baited, mate.
Damn, Key Crashman, you got me again.
Yeah. The stupid switches. Well, we have passed the 20 seconds mark, so I assume there's going to be no more switches around. So the Heimerdinger will be sent to the mid lane. Makes sense. You're playing against the Sylas, who is a melee champion.
We've seen them swap later on as well, but yeah, I think you're most definitely right.
We're at 5 seconds, right? I'm pretty sure that we're going to say, all right, it's going to be the Heimerdinger. So yes, Heimerdinger will be sent over towards this mid lane here. I
think he fits better there as well. Like,
oh yeah,
looking
100%.
at how you have your lane's divided, Lucianami really aggressive, you need some form of defense to keep the Jinx safe, and Heimerdinger, in theory, in my opinion, can do that the moment he hits his first item spike with his Durilas Crystal Scepter on support, but right now in this situation, where you most preferably just have a shield earlier on, instead of waiting for a full item that costs 2,600 gold, which is a lot for a support, it's probably better to take those ults, plus the fact that Sylas into Karma, it might not be the best lane, but into Heimerdinger, your trade pattern is in the face. There's a triangle of doom up ahead with 3 towers you can't just trade into, because the moment you go in and this Heimerdinger is a good Heimerdinger, he will instantly catch you with grenades, 3 lasers aiming at yourself, and what are you doing at that point? Even with that in mind, Heimerdinger is also the kind of champion that doesn't need a actual mythic item early on to be really strong. I just said Rylas is really strong on him as first item on support. It also goes in the mid lane. And we've also seen the world stage where the Sylas counter pick, well, like most notably we've seen him picked into Akali, that's just the meta right there. Items like Oblivion Orb were picked up fairly easily, and if there's a champion that can easily apply it as well, because the turret shoots everywhere and the laser is AoE, it's also a champion like Heimerdinger. So I really like that this Heimerdinger is going to the mid lane instead of the support role.
Yeah, I think so too. And just for the most general sense as well, right? Like, he's going to apply so much damage as well to the entire team of the side of the main team of Myth. So we'll see how it's going to all play out. I think one of the best parts of the Heimerdinger mid here as well is we talked about how important it is for the side of the Academy team to be able to set up for big objectives. Heimerdinger will always have to push in towards this mid lane. It's going to be very difficult for Sylas to find that unless he gets some jungle attention. So we are going to expect this mid lane to be pushed constantly in favor of the Academy team, which means that, you know, the Heimerdinger can start playing around with the Vi a little bit, look for some roams, look for some early game plays, and maybe even try and get this Jinx Karma into a good position, because really the biggest strength that the side of the main team at the moment have is this Lucianami lane, right? This Lucianami lane is definitely a lane that can get ahead against this Jinx Karma. Now, I think the Karma pick is great with the Jinx here, because if you manage to react well to the Lucian engage with those Jinx traps, you can actually turn it around with the speed of a Karma and with the rockets of the Jinx, which means the Lucian cannot outrange it anymore. So there's possibilities here for the side of the Academy team to even not hard lose that lane. But I feel like when we look at Mistaken, he's going to have to put a lot of attention here towards this bot lane, or maybe try and turn the top lane into his favor.
Yeah, and of course, I think that both teams are really energetic to go into this game number 3 already. But do you know what else energetic, Toki?
Tell me.
It is our sponsor of this series. It's Boom Energy. So once again, we can go into that ad real quick before we hop onto the Rift, because these players are currently loading in. And then with that, of course, I need to find my music thingy. Do you know how difficult it is to do both production and
yes, I do. I do. The viewers probably don't, but you know, now they do.
It's so great, man. Okay, let me check. Okay, music is gone. We can go into the ad. It was such a great transition. Come on, man.
You should have just not talked and waited.
Yeah, exactly. But then people are waiting and they're like, what? But this is Boom Energy Drink, so are you ready to get explosive, guys? Into this explosive game number 3. Where we can give you a small sneak peek already about how the game is going to be settled. At what point do we want to jump in, Toki?
Also 20 seconds again.
Also 20 seconds, okay. Then we're once again counting down with the 3, 2, 1. You can take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Game number 3 between the main team of Myth Esports and, of course, Myth Academy. They are now looking to get their names onto this third game, which will, of course, set them up very well to win the entire series. Can the Academy team look for an upset here with hashtag Team Arcane, or will the main team be able to thwart their efforts and stop them from getting any closer towards the championship and towards a place in Division 1 and a nice amount of money, of course? So We'll see what's going to happen here as we now see all the laners playing it quite safe at the moment. No invades, no craziness that we saw in the second game. And well, the last time we had a calm start like this, it was the main team who came out on top pretty handily. So we'll see if the academy team can turn it around this time.
Yeah, and the first thing that that I see that not necessarily surprised me, but I do want to point out is that Velociblade last game was playing Aatrox with the Arcane Comet rune, thinking that in that laning phase, Comet of course has more value because he didn't think he'd be trading a lot. He wanted to stay on distance mostly against the Karma, and then if he gets a trade off, the Arcane Comet plus like Scorch combination deals an awful lot of small burst damage. You're not really looking to get some really big trades with the Karma. Right now you're playing the Fiora lane where she will be looking for vitals all over the place, which means there's a lot more brawling, a lot more fighting. So there's a lot more value to be taken out of something like the Conqueror instead of the Comet. So nice to see that switch up as well, knowing when and when not to take certain runes, and I like that very much. Same thing goes for the mid lane. We see the first strike being taken on the Sylas. That means that you already acknowledge your enemy laner has the range advantage. It's really difficult to trade into him with Conqueror, so it's easier to go for more of a Q max approach on the Sylas, making sure you get a little bit of gold every time you can hit that max range Q. It's a really nice thing to see from these players, that they know when certain situations ask for certain rune matchups, and that they can acknowledge that by themselves when they have to do that.
Yeah, definitely love to see that here from both sides of the team. Plus, let's be honest, right? You don't want to take Arcane Comet against Team Arcane. Like, I feel like that is just playing into their strengths. So that's something I don't want to see from Velociblade anyway. So I'm glad he didn't do that. But we do see, of course, kind of as expected, early game, it is Alina on the Fiora getting a hand off this lane, just like it is in towards the mid lane, which gives Ferrari a lot of options and a lot of space to walk towards with this find. We'll see now that all three lanes of the side of Academy are getting prio, what Ferrari is going to be looking to do with it, and of course what Mistaken is going to do, because he might look for an early game bot lane gank, but of course it has been warded, so Space and Viking are going to remain safe.
Yeah, the wave state isn't of course the best in the bot lane, because they were instantly starting to shove, and well, with the not even a bounce inside, Kip really likes to keep this wave right here, knowing that his jungler pathed to the bot side, and Ferrari's probably hovering around top because their bot side leashed. It's a really nice, like, small micro play that, yeah, they probably practiced beforehand, and you can see it's already paying off by them. And I feel like it's more of a, how do you counter this on the academy side? Because on the top lane you need to make something happen now. But no, it's the bot side.
Now in the bot lane, yeah, we have something happen here. There's a lot of damage going on to Kip. Kip going a little bit too aggressive there, and that is the power of the Karma. If you go that aggressive and Karma gets to just put the W onto you, the traps cannot miss anymore. So good stuff there by the side of the academy team. And this is one of those lanes you don't want to lose with, because if you lose as Lucian Nami, then what did you pick them for in the first place?
Yeah, and at the same time, your wave was in such a great position for Mistaken to hover there. Yeah, he's only level 3, but that's mostly because of the pathing he has taken. And I feel like their plan was for him to gank early. And with how Kip reacted there, or like responded with the all-in, you most definitely would have liked Mistaken there with you, because that would have been a definite kill, at least 2 flashes burn. But Mistaken, feeling like there was nothing to find on the bot lane, whilst his AD is actually engaging and going for the cleanup of the thingy himself, it's just kind of weird.
Oh, and a great bait here by Chain Up. No death though for LeBronzi, so it will actually be a flash for flash trade. So not too bad here for the side of the main team of Myth. But yeah, I think most importantly is the wasted time that Mistaken has put in towards this bot lane. But look at that! Alina just completely catches, it's been caught off guard by Velociblade. Still has the flash, but just didn't use it. And that's the solo kill in the top lane, and that could just change the pace of that lane.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult one to say as well when we're still looking at action in the mid lane.
Big flash here for Mistaken, and that's going to be the wave of Nami not actually taking the kill. It will be Mistaken who gets it. So the main team just outplaying Academy on 2 lanes.
Yeah, and the big issue on the top lane right there is that we've seen this matchup. Oh, I mean, well, Kip has no mana, so I don't think Viking has a lot to fear, but he needs to make the wave crash. What I wanted to say is that Alina is playing a matchup that, once again, we've seen a bit on the world stage, where a lot of pro players would say that it is Fiora favored, but we have seen Zeus also lose it into Kingen at the finals, and it's mostly about timing. You need to hold your spells, and right now you see Alina once again missing a vital, but she has the parry, then she can trade back, but now your cooldowns are gone, and Velociblade was level 6 already.
Yep. You are not level 6. Oh, Alina now has the flashback. I don't know if you're going to get away with that.
Blade?
Is not going to be able to fight it, but that could be a bit too greedy. So much damage being taken back. But Alina doesn't have a gap closer at the moment to take down Frostblade. But this top lane is definitely very exciting. But in the meanwhile, it will be the side of Myth Academy taking down this dragon. Whilst Mistaken is towards his bot lane. So the Sejuani has unfortunately been wasting a lot of time. Can he look for a Milk of Steel though? Good traps there from the Jinx. They're actually just going to go for Mistaken. They're trying to get the kill before the dragon is down, and that will work indeed. So Ferrari is going to smite down the dragon as the Bronzy steals the ultimate and steals away some time. So good stuff here from the side of Academy.
I mean, it has to be a small form of miscommunication there on the main team, because Mistaken was in way too deep for the rest of his team to actually follow up on him. So in that situation, of course, we can also say Space really great traps positioning, because that made sure that Mistaken wasn't to get as far into the pit as he maybe would have liked. Also instantly CC'd up, and then the decision making from the Academy team is of course second to none. They know that if they're going to continue this dragon, it might get a 50-50 in the end. Right now, smites are only dealing 450 damage and not on the total of 900 yet, because we're not that far in the jungle clear. So yeah, you can just leave the dragon at 1000, maybe force an early smite from enemy jungle, but it is the best way to make sure there's not a flip play necessary, and you get yourself a really nice kill, which was necessary with the top lane right now going in a really big favor of the main team.
Oh yes, it is indeed. And now in the mid lane, we might see something happen. Chained Up has a lot of damage with all these turrets being up, but can they find LeBronzy? It is getting quite close. And will he get the kill back? LeBronzy will be able to walk out, and it is another kill going over to the jungler.
Yeah, and Chained Up panicking a little bit right there. Of course, it was necessary for him to use his ultimate tower, but if you are a Heimerdinger player, you of course know that your towers also interrupt things like the dash from Sylas. Make sure that he hooks the turret instead of yourself. Ferrari's looking with his ult on the top lane. Velociblade getting a lot of movement speed from the world, and I think he's going to get away.
I don't think he's going to be able to chase that down. So Velociblade is getting away quite easily. Ferrari not finding the assault battery to take him down. So you can see now the pings are coming over towards this Herald. Looks like
can I give you a quick fact, okay? Like, so I also thought that Assault and Battery was still the name of Fire Ultimate, because that's what it's been for a long time, right? But apparently,
it's Cease and Desist now. Wow.
Yeah, sometime along the way they changed it to Cease and Desist, because well, Assault and Battery doesn't really sound nice if the police does that to you. And with of course, yeah, like a lot of controversy being around the police, I do understand the decision making there from Riot Games, and therefore I'm sorry to quote unquote correct you on that, but I also want to give it with you for the next play.
Fair enough. I did not actually know that. Well, so no Assault and Battery here, but definitely some assault here towards this mid lane turret, as there's going to be another plate going over towards the Jinx and the Heimerdinger. And good movement, just good map movement at the moment from Academy. You said it right. The decision making at this point for them has been second to none, and they are showing it once again. This Herald is probably going to be very difficult here for the side of the main team to actually contest. You see Kip trying to look close, trying to get some vision in, but Mistaken isn't even close.
Don't forget, in the first game, this was the point where main team started winning because of a huge gold deficit with a huge fight, and they're still looking for once again.
That is true. Space taking way too much damage in the early part of the game. That's going to be the Cease and Desist from the Sylas. One kill already down, and you said it, and they will show up. A double kill goes over towards the Sylas. Make it a triple, ladies and gentlemen. It is a disaster for Myth Academy.
Macro-wise, really great decision for the Academy team, but micro-wise, you need to have more vision. There's no way you can just stand there not knowing that this amount of people, or amount of enemy players are lurking in to try and get you, and they do lose 3 players to, well, just a singular Herald. I don't think giving away 3 kills worth almost 900 gold is worth it when you can get only 2 or maybe 3 plating with a singular Herald play.
I definitely agree with you there, and yes, it is 3 kills now on this Sylas, who is going to be an absolute problem for the side of Myth Academy. Now, yeah, you can of course argue that, yeah, they have the Herald and they can put it on someone like the Jinx or like the... Well, actually, to be fair, it could work in every single lane. But right now, Alina, once again in trouble, has put the ultimate down. But I don't think you're going to be able to get away from this because Mr. Salt
he can!
Said, will he get it? And he will get the parry. But I don't think this healing is going to be enough. The wave will be enough to interrupt him. Velociblade will take that kill. Is now in the mid lane. Mistaken is just running down Space, who has the rocket, can try to look back for a player, but doesn't have the damage at the moment because there's no item finish just yet. As LeBronzy just destroys Space. Nothing he can do, and Viking gets the root, but it's not underneath the turret. Myth Academy are falling apart slowly but surely.
Yeah, and they don't forget that this is once again the main team sitting on their gold lead, and if we have something yet to be, or if there's something yet to be seen, it's the team that's behind trying and make those plays. It's most of the time, I mean, in the past 2 games, we've seen the team in the lead just knows how to deal with it so well, and once again, even though it's only a 2,000 gold lead, the lack of respect is instantly visible in the Academy team.
It really, really
Whoa,
is.
look at that!
Oh, the Lost Blade just murders the Donga. And now
alone.
Vi is completely alone indeed. And Ferrari, your car might be quick, but your champion is not. That's an easy kill for LeBronzi. 5-0 on the silence with 10 stacks to boot.
Did you really just make a Ferrari joke at the Grand Prix night?
Oh, is it Grand Prix? I honestly did not even know. But yeah, yes.
It is actually Formula 1 right now, and I have to miss it because of these finals, which I don't mind. I don't really watch a lot of Formula 1, but I did want to point it out for you there. I think that maybe Ferrari just wants this series to end so he can watch the race as well, because right now it isn't really going anywhere near well for them. They only have a singular dragon, and there's already so much pressure on the map for the main team that the second dragon looks to go towards the main team, and that's a Hextech dragon, which in my opinion has a lot more value than a singular cloud.
Yeah, it definitely does. And while Ferrari is 0-3 at the moment, he's definitely losing, just like Ferrari have been in the F1 as well. So now we see
you didn't have to do them like that.
I know I didn't, but you know, I wanted it to. And Ferrari now trying to run away. This time around will be fast enough. Hopefully they will be in the Grand Prix tonight, as well as now Alina is going to be caught out. That's a riposte. We'll be able to get him out to safety, but the main team is just so strong. They are just running them down. There's going to be the triple egg. Not going to do too much to chain up, and the turrets are going to make sure that main team are going to have to back off. But now
scattered.
Space is around. Ferrari is around. Can they find anything? Space is going to be able to run away. Has gone for that Gale Force. I never like to see that on the Jinx unless it's like against a very squishy team, and you can just see it does not even matter because Space is dead. Ferrari now tries to get something onto Mistaken. Can they get anything? The chains do not land, but Alina is the only one there. Riposte doesn't do anything, and the main team is just too far ahead. They absolutely destroy the Academy team.
Yeah, and I instantly want to go in on the point you just made with Space running the Gale Force not being enough to actually get away from that fight. I do want to say to you, the decision making and itemization makes sense, right? Like you're saying there's not only squishes on the enemy team, so the DPS factor doesn't really matter, but it's also, of course, the repositioning tool with some really straightforward engages from the Silas, the Aatrox, and the Sejuani, that one singular dash might be enough to get yourself into safety when you make one positioning mistake, and after that allowing you to make more DPS, or to get more DPS, because in the scenario you get the Kraken Slayer, you might get into a situation where you make one movement mistake, you instantly get caught off guard, and that means that you deal even less DPS than when you had that dash. I know that it sounds really, well, safe, and you probably want to play balls to the walls the moment that you pick a champion like Jinx, but it makes sense in the scenario that you are behind to get an item like this to give yourself more safety.
Completely agree, and most of the time it's also a meme, obviously, but I do still think that genuinely when you pick an item just to cover up for your mistakes, I feel like I don't like that item being picked. As we now see some destroyeds once again from the main team. I mean, at this point, they're just picking them apart. Like, there's really no way for Academy team to go. I mean, they were quite deep. They were looking for some miracle plays, but this happened in the first game as well, and it kind of feels like we're just watching a deja vu happen at the moment because, again, it is main team in the lead, and it is the Academy trying to look for some crazy plays and just not finding them. And now it's just completely falling apart.
Yeah, and of course it is really easy to see to say for like both casters and viewers. It is easy to play with a lead. Like right now you are 5,900 gold ahead. So when you have the lead, of course, it's more easy to play the game. That stands for itself. But both teams have shown that they need to get that lead in the early stages. And the same mistake right now happened twice for the Academy team, losing that first Herald fight. But that's 9 to 10 times, or like in this scenario 2 out of 3 times, was that the first fight of the game. The only thing that went different in game number 2 was that the first fight wasn't necessarily at Herald, but it was the 5v5 level 1 in the bot lane. So apparently for both of these teams it is necessary to win that first fight of the game, to have that lead to play around it, because right now I don't really see a way for, actually both of the teams, how they manage to deal with being on a deficit. And that is a really, well, I don't want to say bad point, but it is concerning for the rest of the series when I do believe that the Academy team wants to make more Herald plays.
Yeah, the early games just seems to decide these games
Oh,
completely,
Elena.
although now maybe they can look for a player. If Blade is on his own, chained up, actually buys a lot of time. Maybe he gets a kill on the Bronzy. It's a good flash, but it won't be enough. That's going to be 2 kills already because Blade is just 2v3ing here at the moment. Will not get close enough. It's a big shutdown here for Space, who is the one who needs to get those kills, because when you look at the side of Myth Academy, it is really a jinx factor that could maybe get them back into this game.
Yeah, and I don't really mind that they trade 1-for-1 in the bot lane, even though it does cost a lot of resources for the Academy team, because they have to send 3 players instead of 1. And we talked about it once again, first game, really nice cross-map plays being made by the main team, because when all of that was happening, they also made a play on the top side of the map, made another pickup on pick-off on Chained Up, and that means that right now, in the grand scheme of things, there may be a shutdown on the ADC, but there's a lot more to be taken back by the main team, and once again, LeBron's is looking on the bot lane.
Yep, and well, Space, you can space all you want, but there's going to be nothing to do against the Silas. He is too strong at the moment. LeBronzy getting another free kill, and yeah, at this point, main team of Myth is just kind of walking away with it. So I kind of want to bring it back just for fun to the itemization point, because we're looking at a Jinx who now basically needs to carry the game, right? Because it is the one who's going to be able to carry the late game. Now, yes, you know, the Guild Force. This is going to be my argument here, because the Guild Force. Yes, it gives you, you know, the potential movement to space yourself in a better situation, lest you would, you know, in case you would make a mistake or in case you would be in trouble. But here's the thing, and this is why I tend to not like it, because first of all, you're buying it to potentially cover up for a mistake or cover up for, you know, not playing as best as you should be. Second of all, when you get the time to fight, and when you maybe just space yourself to get more time to attack, all the attacks and all the time that you spent attacking will be all less damage, especially against such a tanky frontline off the side of the main team of Myth, that I feel like it doesn't even matter that you are potentially safer if you're not going to even have the damage to kill them like in time, because you gotta have to kill them quickly, because they also have so much healing. Like, I feel like it is just, I don't like it personally, but what I also don't like is how Chained Up just gets absolutely obliterated.
You just said there's less damage in Guild Force, and I just saw Kip for the win just obliterate someone with Guild Force.
It's a different champion.
I mean, you say that, but the item still deals execute damage, so the moment you get someone who's not a tank low, you can still dash in for the kill like Kip just did. It's just that for Space, the bad thing is that
is true,
he's behind, which is, of course, a really bad situation on its own. No, true.
It's not Space's job in this game.
I know, Toki, and I know that at the very least you're really glad that he's not building towards something like Rapid Fire again, because this
I would be so sad.
This is probably going to be a Phantom Dancer with the items that we're going to see.
That makes sense.
And if you also combine the Mythic passive from Guild Force with an item like Phantom Dancer, it does give more movement speed, so it does allow you to space better if you need to kite better. But yeah, the argument of you deal less damage, because the Mythic passive of Kraken Slayer of course gives attack speed, which also is more DPS, always stays. You just need to be both secure and ahead in your lane, I dare to say in this situation, to actually, well, with confidence build it. Because right now you are playing against Lucian Nami. If you don't account for the Lucian Guild Force as well, it is nice to have a Guild Force of your own to get away from that. But that's all, of course, in hindsight. It's really difficult to read those situations, and I don't think we can blame just Space, right? Because the top side of the map is also not really looking too great. We see a 7-0 Silas in the mid lane against the Heimerdinger, sitting 30 CS behind, only on 1 Mythic, whilst, well, LeBronzy is looking against his 4th item. I don't know if it's going to be a Sonya's. He will be shadowed by Ferrari.
Ooh.
But I don't think Ferrari can do anything. I don't think Ferrari can do anything in this situation.
That too. I mean, there's too much healing on LeBronzy at the moment, and, well, just let's be honest, too much damage, even as a stopwatch, so not really a way to catch him down. So yeah, the main team of Myth are just going to be chilling here, setting up for the Baron, and once again, just like in the first game, it is going to come down to some magical play here for the side of the Academy if they want to try and turn this back around, and it kind of looks very difficult to do. And yeah, I'm not going to go back on the thing, but I do like this, because I do like this argument a lot, because it is always a thing that we see a lot. Even in pro play, we still saw sometimes, not very often luckily in this world, but whenever the Jinx was picked, sometimes you still see the Guild Force into Rapid Fire Cannon. It never worked out. It literally never did, because I think it's terrible.
It used to work back in the day. But that was
back in
a completely different meta where you had a jungler like Volibear who can only sprint at you and you slow him down.
When you have a Sylas who's just going to jump over the wall and absolutely murder you, although this is looking like a pretty decent fight at the moment for the Academy team. Can they finish them off though? That's the question. They get the big shot on the Lucian, but look at the back. Veloceblade! He is on his own against 4. He does not care at all. Mistaken now is going to catch Ferrari once again, not speeding up too fast. And now it is going to be a split team fight here for the side of the main team, but their members are just so much stronger. The riposte is good. Can Alina find anything
but look at LeBronzi!
Beautiful play by LeBronzi, and he still does not die. A pentakill goes over to the side of the main team of Myth, and that is going to be the game.
And what an amazing fight it actually was for them, but I also want to say it was an amazing fight for the Academy team. Imagine how this fight would have gone when the odds were on the same level, when both teams had the same amount of money in the bank. But right now, it is that early game advantage that pushes the Myth main team over the edge. And that is the sole reason that they take this pentakill for LeBronzi, because that was, of course, a massive display of skill.
Absolutely incredibly done by LeBronzi. It all started with those brilliant chains on space, just catching him off guard completely. Beautiful stuff here by LeBronzi, and showing up insanely well for his team after having a pretty rough second game. So now the main team in prime position to completely take this game. And what are the Academy going to do now? Are they going to look for some crazy Baron call, or are they going to try and set something up? You can see the pinks going. They're trying to push in the lanes. They're trying to get themselves some vision, but there is a 12-0 and 5 Sylas on the side of the main team. And we haven't even pointed out the fight that Veloceblade was just keeping 4 members busy. But now Mr. Salt could be in trouble. That is the support down, but does it? That's the question, because here comes LeBronzi again. That's going to be a legendary Sylas. 1 kill for him as well. Surely he's not going to get 2 pentas, because that's a double kill already. There's going to be number 3. This time going over to Veloceblade. So no double pentakill coming out here. And now Ferrari. We've seen this too many times. He's trying to just run away, and so is chained up. But, well, he just got chained up by the power of the actual chain man himself, Sylas. LeBronzi playing the game of his life.
Yeah, and the main team, of course, looking to end this game. You see how big this goal deficit is, because right now Ferrari was basically forced to go an anti-heal item that isn't necessarily too great this late into the game, because you need to be the frontline for your team as well, and you're really squishy when you go this form of itemization right now.
Yeah, they're not even going to kill him. They're not going to kill him. Well, the tower will kill him, obviously.
They will. They're just playing with their food. But the point I want to make is that the gold income is so, small, I guess, is the right word, because I can't really find the correct word myself, for the Academy team, that the support items are also lacking in when they need to come in and need to be bought. Like, there's no way there's a Chemtech Putrefryer coming in for Viking before this game ends, so forcing a champion like Ferrari that did get a shutdown, therefore had the goal to buy a cheap item like the Chemtech, is just really sad to see, because right now I think Ferrari would have preferred more to be more of a frontline, making sure that his backline doesn't die, but needing to buy multi-purpose items because the rest of his team can't afford it, it's really rough to play those kind of games.
It really, really is rough indeed. And if you just look at the items in general, look at the insane differences. It's actually quite surprising to see, because of the shutdowns that Space has been able to get. Space is kind of even at the moment when it comes to items, against Kip. But I don't think it matters too much.
Does it matter? Because, like, Kip, every single fight, Ferrari sees Kip, neural activation. Yeah. He instantly ults him. Kip isn't allowed to play the game. But I don't think the main team minds, because LeBronzi and Veloceblade, they picked double strong side for a reason. At least they were able to capitalize on at least one of them. But right now, even if Kip is sacrificing himself, I don't think he minds. He just knows that his team has got this, and LeBronzi, they put all their fate into him.
Yep. And rightfully so. I mean, he's just got a pentakill. We got another double kill afterwards. He's been looking incredible. Now we can see a top lane fight, though. Can Alina this time around do something more? But I mean, just look at the healing. It's just ridiculous. Like, this champion is so incredibly strong, especially when it's 6-1 against an 0-6 for your Aldo Alina.
Oopsie.
Yeah, going to be able to get out, and now we might be looking at a potential miracle steal. The ward over the wall did not go into the bush, so they don't have vision at the moment on Ferrari. It's actually quite important to mention that. We'll see. Do we see a miracle steal about. Velocblade is now trying to keep the team away. Will be able to do so for a while, but the Baron is going down quite quickly here.
Oh, he stole it!
Get the Miracle Steal, he gets it! That is the Miracle Steal. Ferrari does even get away with his life and they get a kill back. The Academy team are trying to look for this fight. Can they kill Silas? They can! They are finding miracles, but it's enough. Space is much damage. But he gets almost the entire team. Can he run away from Velocblade though? That's the big question. He gets the double kill. Velocblade is trying to chase down the Jinx. Just needs to get those traps down, hit the zap, and he might be able to get away. Does do so. The chains go wide. But Myth Academy find a miracle play, and even if Space dies here, it saves them the game. And that is going to be Velocblade though. One more auto attack needed. He is so close. You can see the duck beak trying to hit the Jinx, and this time she dies.
So now everything has calmed down, right? After this entire fight has been settled and the miracle play that we were waiting for has happened, might I point your attention towards that the miracle for Myth right here and the fact that Space didn't die is also because of Gale Force. I don't want to make you more tilted, but in this scenario, maybe it was the miracle play or the miracle purchase that the Academy team needed. Because Space, being able to Gale Force away from Velocblade, who most definitely would have smashed his face in with his gigantic blade, with how ahead he currently is, would have meant the end for the Academy team and the end of this game. And now Velocblade looks to get punished on the top lane, but there's also TP incoming for mid. Jesus Christ.
But chain up just immediately gets broken down. I mean, Alina's not going to get away with this either. That's a repulse, but how much is it going to really mean? LeBronzi's taking quite a bit of damage. That's going to be the flash, but it does not matter. One more hit, and Alina will be dead. Can LeBronzi find it with the Q? No, will not. Ferrari is going to save him right now, but I don't know if you want to be there, Ferrari, because that is going to be so much damage from these two healing champions.
Yes, Guardian Angel.
That is going to be one kill, though, and that will be another one found here by Alina somehow.
No way.
The Academy are finding a miracle comeback.
How is this happening? We just saw a 10k gold lead. Right now it's only 4,000, but we're still fighting.
Oh, the culling. Kip finds the culling. It's so much damage. Can Kip make this happen? There's the Gale Force trying to get away, but the shutdown is there for Alina. And Space does not die because Mistaken is simply a tank. Another double kill over to Alina. And oh my lord, are we watching the craziest comeback of this entire tournament.
It's also 48 seconds until Dragon, so that's also something that the Academy team can set up for. But I once again want to look back at what happened there, because in the first phase of that top lane play, we saw the Academy team thinking there was an easy pick to be made on Velocblade. That, well, proved to be nothing but the easy play, because Chained Up had to pay for it with his life. But after that, the overchase and the overgreediness, I understand, LeBronzi. You have gotten a pentakill this game, but that doesn't mean you're a god. That doesn't mean that you can't bleed. And the Academy team is proving that by once again punishing his overgreediness. And even with Alina only surviving on, what is it, 10 HP, 50 HP, Ferrari had a really nice engage there with his Vault Breaker standing in the way of a kill. And his Guardian Angel just made sure that this play is even better than it used to be.
And look at this now, Dermot. Finally what they wanted. The setup, they have it now. Velocblade is taking a lot of damage, but I don't know if I want to go for this immediately. The tidal wave goes wide, but look at those little turrets. They are all set up perfectly. And we talked about how important it is for the side of Academy to have that ready. But now Ferrari is going to get caught out using the ult, right on Mistaken to try and get himself out. But now Mistaken is going right into the depths of it, and there's so much damage for the side of the main team of... It does not matter that they try to look for a comeback because they're getting absolutely destroyed. A triple kill for Kip, and that looks like it might be all she wrote. Ferrari is, as per usual, the one who tries to run away, but the rest of Myth main team are looking to end the game.
And how cool would it have been if Gale Force there saved the life of Space, but there's no running away from a Silas stealing Vi ultimate. It was a really great play by LeBronzi, showing why he of course had that pentakill earlier in this game. But yeah, the main team, they may have dropped a couple of plays around the rift. They are showing that when they're ahead, they can finish it whilst ahead, and that is by itself a really great display of what they have in their team.
It really, really is. It was not clean, to say the least, but the main team of Myth managed to get them 2-1 ahead and put them in prime position to get themselves a spot in Div 1, 150 euros, but most importantly, the series win. So, wow, what a game, Dermot. I mean, I feel like we're going to be talking about this game as well when the next game begins. There's way too much to talk about, but we can take a little bit of time to talk about it now because honestly, it looked like the main team of Myth just had this in complete control, but some brilliant fights from the side of the Academy just managed to completely turn it around. The shutdown and the, I want to call it the assault and battery, but the cease and desist once again from Vi, this time around onto LeBronzy to actually lock him down. Everything works for one fight.
It is almost heartbreaking, right? That like an ability from your own team makes sure that you don't win a game. And that's also why Sidus, of course, is really liked in current meta, because he can do stuff like this. But what I want to take away from this game on its own is that, once again, blue side's really strong. Second of all, this Myth main lineup has some really strong Herald fights. And what I mean with that is that they don't necessarily call out the Herald itself, but they really know how to capitalize on the fact that if your enemy is on it, you don't need to secure the Herald yourself. All you need to do is win the battle right there and make sure you are 2k, 2.5k gold ahead. And that gives so much space for them to do everything else that they want in the game. They can make every single rotation they need. And sure, it wasn't the cleanest of games. Like LeBronzy made a couple mistakes as well, giving away the shutdown. And of course, we had the miracle fight at the Nash, where also Nash got stolen, of course, by Ferrari. But in the end, it still looks like a really strong combination of champions and players on the side of the main team. And setting themselves on match point is also a really nice point to break at one point, because, well, when you're at match point, it just feels like a lot of the pressure that you had to get to that has fallen off. And of course, you still need to win that last game, but with such confident wins, of course, one really confident loss, but, well, what can you say? Level 1 flip. What else happens? Like, just don't flip anymore, guys. We can win it off the Herald fights. It should give such a great confidence boost that I don't really see anything else happening than the main team if they don't have that level 1 fight and can keep this pressure up on that first Herald, just take away this series after the next match.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen. Blue side has been winning every single game. Academy surely going to be choosing that next, but we'll see it in a second. Do not go anywhere. This series is far from over. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the epic finals between the main team of Myth and Myth Academy. Currently, main team of Myth 2-1 ahead in this series after a destructive third game, which had a bit of shakiness to it, but in the end they managed to draw it all the way over the line. Now, the question to me, Dermot, is before we get into the draft is, what is Academy going to do to make it happen? Because they had this crazy early game that really made it work.
Toki, it's really
go for an invade.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they have officially completed step number 1. That's picking blue side. Like right now, we have a 100% win rate on the blue side. We also seen a lot of really important picks being picked there, of course, in blue number 1. I do not think that the level 1 flip is ultimately necessary, but I feel like the advantage that we've seen most of the time when main got on top is the fact that they are playing the blue side on that Herald contest, because that means that your jungle exit/entrance is at the right side to contest properly. You have a better way to flank if necessary when they're in the pit and have no mobility spells. So right now, I don't think they need to necessarily flip level 1, but what I do think it's really important for them to not necessarily want to pull the trigger on the Herald, but watch how the fight goes a bit. Just hold off for a bit, look to find an opportunity to maybe flank yourself or set up the fight properly, what we've mostly seen from the main team right now, and get that first fight in your advantage, because both of these teams are just the ones showing if you win that first fight, you can get that snowball, get a 2 to 3k gold lead, and after that the rest is history. Maybe some small throws can be made, but it's not or hasn't been enough yet for them to actually take the win away from a leading team.
It has not indeed. We're getting ourselves into the pick rather quickly, because just like in the second game, the one that Myth Academy won, they are picking the Sejuani first. This time it's going to be racked by the main team, by Aatrox and LEA, 2 champions that they have been very successful with as well. Now the question is again, Academy, what are they going to pick against it? Well, it is going to be the Swain again. This looks very much like the second game that we had. If that is going to be exactly the case, I'm pretty sure this was it the Karma pick? If I remember correctly, I'm not entirely sure if that was on the Academy side, but we'll see what they are going to choose to go for next. They could be, we still don't know if Sejuani is going to be going to the jungle but now we definitely do, because the Vi makes a return.
I do like Vi more, with the Swain already being hovered instead of last time around when we saw the Heimerdinger. There's a bit more pick potential being made with the Never Move, which just combines really nice with the Vi. But what I also really like is that the Swain, of course, once again is flexible, and we've seen that, well, the players have rotated the champs a couple times already. That also shows me that there's confidence in them to actually switch them around if necessary. So this Swain can, of course, still go towards the support role if Viking wants it. Like, Viking has also shown a lot of playstyles. He's shown both his Enchanter Karma, but also the really manly aggressiveness that he has when he's playing Set. So we can't instantly say for the Academy team where every champion is going, but I just like the progression right now of draft. Vi actually being picked with more pick-off instead of she being the only tool to use that, and then in the end blasting on in their own face when the Sylas steals the really important ultimate. And with the main team, the Xayah right now is showing me that they once again are switching up their playstyle, because last time we saw double strong side. They picked the Lucian with the Aatrox and the Sylas. They had all lanes they could play around, but if one falls behind, they are not really in the spot to carry anymore. Right now, it feels like they want to put more eggs in the Great Basket, where the Aatrox is the strong side, and they give Xayah the freedom to be more of a weak side champion with a safety tool with their ultimate Featherstorm.
Yeah, they're just looking to make sure that, the side of Myth Academy are clearly looking for some dive-ish kind of comp. They just pick Orianna, they pick Xayah, and make sure, all right, we're going to play anti-dive. We're going to just make sure that we can sit in the back and make sure that, potentially, as you said, the Aatrox can start running free. So we'll see how that's going to work out for the main team here, which means the main team are kind of saying, all right, Academy, we're going to let you guys make the plays again, right? And every single time, especially the main academies, Myth's main team's wins, we've seen that...
Is it the Academy or the main Academy?
Yeah, I don't even know anymore. But we've seen that whenever the Academy tries to make the plays, it is always Myth, the main Myth. God, this is so bad. Coming out.
Don't worry about it.
Coming out on top. But wow, we are seeing the return of an absolute old school classic here. The Ashe Zyra lane back in the day. The most annoying
We can
lane,
only hope one thing.
Lane.
It's Misfortune support. The answer of 2015.
But it actually
It actually can
genuinely be. Yeah,
like,
it could genuinely
Miss Fortune
be.
has had so many great buffs for the AP style that also works, but
That's fair,
of course they're not going for it. The Karma is way better in the perspective where you want to make a Lilia and an Aatrox zoom around the map as well, so that's also a great pickup.
That's fair.
I think it's kind of ballsy with Myth Academy trying to blind pick Zyra, because normally it's as a response pick into champions like Blitzcrank, Thresh, Nautilus. Of course, your plans can block hooks, but at the same time, they are really annoying, deal a lot of damage, and you have the range to deal out that damage against, melee champions. But right now, it also brings me concern when I see that Zyra is an AP champion with, of course, a lot of magic damage. The same thing goes for Swain. Stacking Liandry's, of course, isn't a big issue anymore, but there is an awful lot of magic damage already to be found on the side of Myth Academy, and maybe, well, they want to go for something else, because I don't really see why Zyra right here has to be the pick to disrupt a team composition that already wants to play into safe or like with disengage.
Yeah, it's interesting to see it. It tells me maybe that they're just trying to dominate this bot lane and, try and maybe get some leeway there from kind of like what they did in the second game, right? Like they dominated the bot lane, albeit doing a very crazy early game, and they just pushed it over towards the top lane. They got themselves the dragon. They send the bot lane over towards the top lane, get themselves the herald. They send the bot lane back over towards the bot lane, get the bot lane turret with the herald, and kind of try and play it like that and get your bot lane ahead like that. Now, the difference is you don't have a Draven who's going to, go crazy with a lead like that. Sure, I mean, any AD carry in the lead is great. It's just not a Draven at this point. But an Ashe Zyra in a lead can also be absolutely terrifying, because when we're looking at the main team of Myth, they have this defensive composition, but if they ever want to look for picks, if they ever want to go in and you are looking at a very strong Zyra, it's going to be very difficult for them to also look for plays against the setup that Myth Academy can provide.
Yeah, and of course, when you want to take a look at the main team, I do like the Orianna for both offensive and defensive purposes, because of course your Shockwave can be used for the engage that Myth Academy, or the pick-off that Myth Academy wants to make, but also for the same thing that you want to do. You can give once again more movement speed to your frontline carries. Once again, Lilia and Aatrox really like to zoom over the map, so the Shield of Karma really helps with that, but also the Command Dissonance will kind of help with that as well. I just see a lot of positive things in the main team's composition, where I do like the pick-off that the Academy team has with basically every single champion, but the question is it enough to only take away a singular brick from the house that's being built by the main team, or are there other pillars that their composition can still stand on when only one of their champions falls away? Because I think that if you, for instance, only take away a Xayah or an Orianna, it isn't the worst of scenarios. Even if you just take away the Aatrox, there's still a lot of firing power left for the main team to actually use against the Academy team in a 4v5 situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think that kind of brings us to the point that the Academy, what they need to do, likely, is going to be looking for stuff in the early game, right? Because when we look at the difference in junglers, they at least do have a Vi. This is someone who's able to definitely make early ganks happen. You have a Swain who has set up, you have a Sejuani who is set up, and you have a Zyra who has set up. So the options are there, right? There is chances for Ferrari to go for those early game ganks. Now, the only thing that makes me a little bit bothered, if this was the first game, I would have talked differently about this, but it isn't the first game. This hasn't been really the story of these games. It hasn't been about early game ganks. Even if they were picking a jungler like a Vi, like a Sejuani, who was able to make those early ganks happen, that hasn't been the story of the game. It has been setting up around objectives, setting up for big fights, and when it comes to those, it was always the main team who comes out on top.
Yeah, and of course, it is really difficult sometimes in team play to set up those early ganks, because there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of early warding, because the moment your top laner calls out, okay, he's being leashed on the top side, your bot lane instantly knows, okay, in 1.5 minutes, I need to ward Tribush, because if I don't, the possibility of them having done their full clear or semi-full clear and instantly showing up on bot lane, because that's the path they've chosen to take, might end up disastrous if one of those early game ganks actually gets out of hand and works. Mm-hmm. So in this scenario, the Lilia isn't really forced to do that. So with your storytelling, that would mean that there is a definite plus for the main team picking up this champion in comparison to a Vi who normally excels really well at those early game ganks. But maybe, just maybe, there is a change in pace right now that for Ferrari, maybe even the main team has gotten quote-unquote used to Ferrari's playstyle, and right now Ferrari will hit them with the greatest curveball of the century, switching up his playstyle, actually looking for those early ganks when they're least expecting it, and from that part maybe snowballing the lead through a lane or through instead of through a team fight is what I meant to say. So in this scenario, I would like to see that change of pace. It's just I don't expect it, but it would be really nice if that would be the case.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be Red Bull LEA this game, right?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe
we'll
Mercedes.
See how it's going to go.
I don't know how the race went today, so...
Honestly, I have no clue either, but
we can make a lot of
so.
really bad jokes.
Yeah, we should probably have the knowledge of it to make
and
those
we
jokes.
Don't
because
know
they're
if
going to be like F1
true.
watchers.
True.
Exactly. There's going to be F1 watching that's like,
and they'll be like,
I
have missed the race for this, how dare you?
Yeah. Oh, they're spoiling everything. Little do they know, we have no clue what happened. But either way, now we're going to get ourselves into this game very quickly. So, the one thing I do want to talk about a little bit more, because yes, we pointed out a tiny bit, but it is a very crazy pick, of course, the Ashe Zyra. Now, back in the day, this was known to be one of the most annoying lanes, if not the most annoying lanes to deal with right now. Xayah and Karma, are they going to have a decent time in it? Because yeah, Karma is going to help, of course, shielding and making sure that the Zyra is not going to be as oppressive. Xayah is quite defensive. I do feel like there is not really a lot of ways for the main team to find something in the spot lane with the Xayah Karma. So are we going to see heavy aggression coming here for the Academy lane, or would they be fine with just, we'll just chill out?
I don't think they have another choice. Like right now, you have a situation.
That's kind of what I'm feeling.
It's almost do or die. So in this scenario, I'd say Myth Academy, play your heart out, see if you can still get there. And for the main team, of course, for you guys, it can most definitely be the final game. It is really difficult for the Academy team, from what we've said, to actually take this game off you. So also the main team, give it your best and show us at least one more game of some great League of Legends, and maybe make it two if the situation calls for it.
Hell yeah, and also let's make it a game of pausing at 20 and getting ready for it right now. Let me know when you're ready, so we can get right on to it.
Yeah, I'm instantly, of course, playing the ad.
Oh yes, oh yes, that we've always prepared every single round.
To get on 20. Okay, and then with the 3, 2, 1, I'm having it playing. And there we go. We're into game number 4 in this best of 5 series. Match point, of course, found by the main team. But everything, of course, can be shaken up if we take it, or if the Academy team takes it to game number 5. It's up to them to show us what they can do.
It is indeed up to them. This time around, they're not going to get that lead with an invade. And when they had to play a slow 5v5, they have never been able to find the lead against the main team. So this is going to be a true challenge for the Academy. Can they do it without a crazy invade and a serrated Dirk on Draven? We will see it very soon. The 5-pointer has been put down here by the side of the main team. Yes, the main team. My God, it still confuses me. We've casted 3 games. Yeah, it's still confusing.
Why are they still both called Myth? I thought they were doing a series here.
Oh, Lord help me. But we have Viking and Space waiting in his bot lane bush. This could be a play to the favor. You can see Salt. He already smells something, but hasn't spotted it out. That's going to be a route up, a little bit of early game poke onto Mr. Salt, and perhaps that'll help them win this lane later on.
So, things I want to point out at the start of this game. First of all, LeBronzy put a really late, but therefore really useful ward on the blue buff of Ferrari, so they now know that he started top side, wants to path towards bot to help his team, which is some really great information for Mistaken to work with if he wants to play towards his bot lane as well, which he's currently pathing to. Second of all, both ADCs teams right now are running cleanse, which is of course really important. Kip is most likely running it because there's an Ashe on the other side, and well, if you're not running cleanse into the Ashe arrow, that is mistake number 1 to be made. But I also like to see it from Space, because that means he also has a lot of respect for the Lilia coming in later into the game. Of course, it is really, a bad thing to have when you get snared by either Karma or Xayah, but I'd say that in those later stage team fights, the sleep is the thing to watch out for. So therefore Space, not necessarily wanting to play for the early game with something like Ignite, Exhaust or Heal, but wanting to play for that late game security with the scaling he has on his team. Great to see from them.
Yeah, definitely great to see. I'm not sure if I would deem it as correct, mainly because it is one of those things like, yes, it's good to have that for the late game, but when you have a lane like the Ashe Zyra, it is a lane where you can play for the lane, and it is one of those things that's like, okay, what do you want more? Are you going to try and play for this lane and, play it less safe, I suppose? Or are you going to play it safe and you say, all right, we'll make sure that we have the late game insurance? Well, it is a choice to make. I don't think there is any right or wrong choices. It just depends on really what you feel like doing.
In this situation, playing for late would be right. Correct? Because you are playing Ashe with lethal tempo, which means you want to play off auto attacks and not necessarily W poke with arcane combat. Like, for instance, Space could have taken double arcane combat together with Viking to be even more obnoxious in lane, played a really, really obnoxious lane to play into with, Imperial Mandate Manamune Ashe, constantly spamming W, making sure your team is dead before they can even reach a fight. That would have been even more bad. But in that scenario, I don't even think so, because there is a lot of damage output with that build. And the thing right then is that Space at that point doesn't really need the cleanse because he doesn't need to kite, and then you can go for something else. But right now you need to enable yourself to kite in the later stages because you have chosen to go lethal tempo and you need to beat that DPS threat.
Yeah, the thing is with that build, I know there's a lot of damage, but the problem is you are basically then a full AP team. And at that point, that is going to be a big trouble. As for Lost Blade, now actually,
Chain-Up gets double stacks.
Out of that. Yeah, that's a lot happening there. But Alina actually manages to get away from that. So good stuff there. 2 stacks here for Chain-Up as well with the W. So good stuff here from the side of Myth Academy to stop that early game top lane play from happening. Good dodge here from Kip, but taking a lot of damage from the Zyra. Plant Space trying to trade back. Lots of fighting happening, but no kills just yet.
Yeah, I guess that the Academy team is feeling the pressure of this game might be the last if we don't play like we did in the second game, and we don't have the advantage of that early game Clown Fiesta getting 2 kills on our main carry and 2 kills on the top lane to get him an extra good lane. So when you count 1-on-1 as 2, they want to get an early advantage from somewhere else, and they can't do anything else than to trade in lane, hopefully find something. Information was mistaken, is already on the top side again, so let's start trading and hopefully we'll get something out of it. Thus far, not necessarily in their advantage, because look at the mid lane as well. There is a huge CS deficit already for LeBronce, and he has the wave crashing into him, so he can decide where it stays.
Yeah, it's quite crazy actually, because we saw Chain-Up very aggressive in this lane, but it is one of those things, right, where you can be very aggressive in lane, but you got to combine it with also making sure that your CS is on the right level, because right now, yes, you might have quote-unquote dominated the lane in health and mana-wise, but when you look at the CS, as you said, that is a 13 CS deficit at 5 minutes. That is not something to just shy away at. That is a lot of CS, and with the teleport now being used by LeBronce, he's just going to try and make sure that he's going to keep that lead quite easily, but it does mean that Chain-Up will have the teleport advantage, but question is how much is it going to matter this early in the game?
We will see. When both teams have, of course, taken notice of the first dragon that spawned, and it looks like Mistaken is the first one to do something with that. When on the top lane we see a fight.
That was a level 6, and now Alina is in trouble. Doesn't have flash on this champion, so this could be 1 more Q, 2 more could just deal the deal, and that is going to be its first blood to Velocblade, and he stays alive.
Yeah, that is the power of Triumph in combination with extra healing on World Ender. Velocblade, of course, being really triumphant in that fight, because, well, you both got the rune and got the kills, so what else would you say? You've also been making these jokes, Toki.
No, I know. I have no right to say it, but it was just funny.
But yeah, the fact that they win on both top side and bot side of the map is, of course, insanely great for the main team. Maybe this bot side wave isn't the best currently, but with this reset, still shouldn't be that big of an issue. We've also taken note of the fact that Kip wants to play a more weak side-ish lane, with Mistaken being able to focus on Velociplay, but with how everything is going and Velociplay taking the solo bolo on the top lane, means that Mistaken might be able to reach out towards this bot lane more and make the life of both Viking and Space a bit more difficult than it, maybe necessarily has to be.
Yeah, we'll see if that's what he's going to do. But the one thing that I'm noticing, Dermot, and this is what scares me here for the academy team, is it's once again, even though it's not a gold lead, but it is once again the main team of Myth making the early game plays, making them work. Now, yes, there hasn't been a lot of plays, but it's one of the plays. It's just one of the things that we've seen in the wins of the main team, and I'm just starting to wonder. It's like, okay, Myth Academy, when is it your turn, right? Because this is potentially your last game in the tournament. Well, it will be if you're not going to make things work. So now Alina could be called out.
He is level 6
here. That's level 6, yeah, so that's going to be a sleep, and now they can just set up this attack as there is a Vi, but it will be way too late. That's going to be a kill to Mistaken, and Vi just falls immediately as well. Ferrari is dead.
Oh, and Viking is alone!
Is there way too late? There is the shockwave, and it is a shockwave through the hopes of the Myth Academy fans, because right now the main team once again around that Herald get themselves in a great position in this game.
Yeah, and the first thing I wanted to say when we saw this top side play being made by Mistaken and Velociplay is I can't wait to see what happens with this Herald dance, because thus far it has been, the deciding play for the main team twice in a row, and right now it is the same thing in a way. You saw that the academy team wanted to make their own rotation because Viking was there, but the fact that they didn't anticipate on a play being forced beforehand by the main team means that, suddenly the plan that they made didn't work. What are you gonna do now? Like, Viking felt completely lost because he was there for only one reason, and the reason he was there wasn't a viable strat anymore. So what are you going to do next? And the fact that those kind of small mistakes catch the academy team off guard like multiple times in a row right now either shows that the academy team still hasn't learned of those past couple of games, or that the main team is just so super great at League of Legends that they know exactly that the main team has no other form of play and how to play into that.
Well, I mean, it might be a combination of both in this instance, right? Because, super great League of Legends, it depends, I guess, which way you put it. Like, if you're going to compare it to, the best teams, then yeah.
Macro-wise, maybe.
Yeah, but I feel like the point of the matter is that Myth's main team managed to play around what the academy are trying to do very well, and they have been showing that every single game. And the only game they haven't been able to do that was when they were already at the start of the game 1.5k gold behind. So it's one of those things. It feels like the main team has always had the upper hand, and even though the series looks relatively close, it might not in reality be that close, and the academy are going to have to do something crazy that they have yet been able to do in this entire series if they want to win this game, and if they want to even have a chance at taking the entire series.
Oh, and look at this. It looks like they're all going towards the bot lane. Maybe a little bit of a disposition, but we did see that the bot lane of Myth Academy is standing under tower and is looking to be dove. It just takes a while before the wave arrives, and that means that the academy team has some time to follow up on it and maybe get something out of it.
Yeah, 2 stacks were chained up. Those are quite nicely taken there. But it looks like Academy are just following the main team. Yeah, it is. It really is. But right now, though, chained up could be called out. Does have the flash ready. Is going to use it for the shockwave. So we'll be able to get out. But it's just one of those things, right? It's another little catch. It's another flash that you have to just burn like that. And it's just another, spell that could turn the fight around that you now just do not have.
And there is a lot of range to be found on their main team. And don't forget, Mistaken is level 6, so we can look for the Lilting Lullaby.
Good arrow. Mr. Sword is in trouble. That is going to be the Cease, and the Cis Viking does get away. And now Ferrari in trouble. Has to flash away after the Q as well. But Mistaken doing so much damage together with LeBronzi. It is another 1-for-1 in the end as Kip falls on the backline to Alina. But good stuff here, at least from Academy. They managed to get something back.
Yeah, they actually managed to take 2, because it's both Kip and I believe it was, of course, Mr. Salt that was made the initial play on. So the fact that they are trading a bat like this is most credible for them. But it still means that resets had to be taken. and we might be able to see a 5v5 on a bot lane, is what I wanted to say. If it wasn't for Alina, once again, just pathing top lane, not having teleport available, and Velociblade doing the same thing, even though Herald is the one marching down the top lane. So maybe the 4v4 then for both of the teams on this dragon.
Yeah, interesting indeed to see that happening. That Velociblade is not really going towards that bot lane right now. I guess they're trying to maybe make that Herald crash, but I feel like Velociblade is going to be there way too late in order for that to happen. Because this Herald is going to die.
The Herald timed out. It's just really awkward to do something useful with it when that happens. But he could have been here, make sure his team gets the second Drake on the map, and now his team has to do it without him, and he is a really strong factor. It's 2 kills that aren't here at the ready for them, when Alina can actually get his shove in first. That means that he will make his way to the bot side of the map before that Velociblade can do, but not that much.
I honestly find it interesting how much time both these teams are putting on towards this dragon at the moment, because I feel like it's not that important for them to get, and I feel like that's what the main team of Myth are currently saying, is like, you know what, I feel like it's more important that we just get our laners the farm, get them XP, get them more ahead. We're just gonna give up this dragon,
but
make sure that we're gonna be ahead, although... Yeah,
we've seen this before from the main
they're looking
team.
for it. Remember when this happened at the Heralds? It was every time Academy dying, but this time around they get themselves the dragon, but they will lose some CS in towards the mid lane. It looks like Velociblade actually he was walking towards top lane, then went back to mid and then back to top. So a bit of miscommunication there coming in from the main team.
Mistaken on his
own.
Mistaken.
Yeah, that could be a mistake for sure, as he now has been called out. I am quite sorry, Dermot, but that is a shutdown.
You don't hear me calling you out, okay? Like, I just accept that it has to be this way.
That is why I apologized in advance.
You don't have to. Like, I know what I signed up for, man. And that's why I make the jokes myself as well. It is maybe a little bit cocky coming out from the main team, and mostly mistaken to be that far up with LeBronzy when you just saw the enemy take the dragon. They haven't really made an attempt on switching up Space and Viking, so the first 3 or 2 people to arrive there will be Viking, Space, and then Ferrari if he's in the vicinity. It feels like there needs to be a better read right there. Also, I want to add on that this is a Cloud Dragon, and even though this dragon has been memed for a while, after it has been buffed this season, the fact that this dragon gives out of combat movement speeds, even if it's just 1, just still speeds up the rotation speed for a team like Myth Academy. And if we've seen them lacking on that a couple of times right now, this might make up for it in future endeavors. So therefore, I really like them picking up this dragon. It doesn't instantly give value when it comes to resistances or damage, looking at things like the Mountain Dragon or the Infernal Dragon, but it does give something that might help them out in the later stages.
It does indeed. It might mean that they are faster at the tower, but
but Space got
what
hit.
Are we looking at, Dermot? Remember when the last time we saw the Academy team start a Herald and the side of Myth's main team are around them? This time around, the Academy are saying, okay, we are not falling into the same trap for the 3rd time in a row, the 3rd game in a row. This time around, they're going to move back, and the side of main team of Myth will get control over the Herald, but they're going to be able to push mid now.
It always surprises me that Mistaken didn't go for the go button there, since Chained Up still had a long way to go, and yeah, I was just talking about Cloud Dragon, it doesn't give that much movement speed. It was still a 4v5 in that perspective. So Mistaken could have just gone for Space. Viking would have been the only form of disengage that they have with the Stranglethorns, but maybe that would have been the play, like the Herald play we've seen from them before, to put them back into the driver's seat of this game, because they have been lacking and the gold deficit is only 1k.
It is only 1k, but most importantly, it is still a gold lead for the main team of Myth, which is what we have seen basically all the games except for the second one. So now the Herald will be taken by the main team of Myth. It looks like Academy have nothing to say about it. Maybe you can find a catch onto Mr. Salt. That is a good flash though to get him out of harm's way for now. Herald will be picked up. Question is, where are they going to use it?
Great question. If you ask me the answer, I'd say you want to invest it into LeBronzy right now, because he is really far ahead on his counterpart, has already a 20 CS deficit on his Swain, and well, if you just funnel him even more, I really like Orianna for the reason that she spikes really hard at 2 items, but LeBronzy might be the one being picked off right now.
Yeah, LeBronzi could be in trouble. Here comes the teleport as well for the side of the Academy. Mistaken now has the ultimate put down onto the Swain, but is going to be completely alone. Flashes away, does use the Q to get himself a bit more movement speed. LeBronzi has just enough mana for the shield. Will he be called out though? That's going to be the never move, and he is never moving away from that one. Chained up, gets a kill on Mistaken, and Academy fight back.
Academy there with a really great flash from Chained Up to actually hit the never move, because else he wouldn't have been in range, and forcing Mistaken to walk back into him, because the only way to dodge that never move if it's on the way back is of course when you also have to move into the enemy team. So both scenarios, even if it didn't hit, would have probably resulted into Mistaken dying. So that means that Chained Up made the correct play on the top lane. And well, when I just said that they were slacking, back then the gold deficit was 1k. Right now it's only a half anymore. It's 600 gold, like around that that much gold. So I feel like the main team has to do something. They will have to look for more fights, because they also have the resource to do that. But right now they're just sitting back, think like, oh, we're ahead, what else can happen? But the pick-off composition is still in the hands of the Myth Academy team. So as long as they can keep pushing that trend forwards, is what I say when Space... I mean, he hits the arrow, it's something.
Yeah, it's a little bit of dopamine. To at least hit someone in the end. But now, Chained Up looking for a fight maybe with LeBron. He just gets himself a stack. But yeah, I think the most important thing to mention, as you said, is the fact that Myth Academy are not that far behind, right? Main team of Myth usually at this point in the game have a much bigger lead over the Academy. Now they might even look at a deficit, as Velocity could be called out here. Do they have the damage? So that's the question. Ferrari's Q cancelled, and now this Herald has been put down towards the mid side. It will be a teleport coming in. Can Chained Up defend it? There's going to be another teleport in mid lane. They really want to take this Herald down. I don't know if that was the right call here for the side of
and Velocity gets called.
But now Velocity gets called. Doesn't have the
world, shockwave!
But does have a shockwave, and that is going to do a lot of damage. And together with the healing of Velocity, much damage coming out for the main team, but no kill just yet. But look at the leader, completely caught off guard.
Chained Up.
Mr. Salt is in trouble. That is going to be the first kill for Chained Up here. Here comes the Featherstorm. So much damage onto Chained Up. Has to flash and use the cleanse to get away. But there is a sleep coming here onto the Swain. That's going to be the kill on Chained Up in the backline. We see Velocity also get a kill. This is a mess of a fight. There is 2 players dead on either team, and now it is the side of Myth main team who are currently split off. Kip is trying to push towards this mid lane, as the Academy are going to look for the dragon.
It's a 3v3 and all health bars are comparable. The only difference being that Ferrari has Smite and there's no one available on the other side to have it. Ooh. But that's a nice recall from Velocity, because he still had his teleport. Viking!
Here comes the Q. Doesn't actually manage to hit it with the feathers. LeBron's actually not hitting the Q as well, but here is Velocity, and now Ferrari is looking to go back in, but doesn't have the damage. The kiting is beautiful indeed. And now Space tries to salvage the situation, but Velocity grabs them all. The dragon and the kills and the fights go over to the main team.
This fight went still so well for the Academy team of Myth. If they only didn't overstay their welcome, I'd say it would have been worth it. But in the end, they get too greedy and have to, well, start the dragon, get it taken away from them just from their grasps, and giving the lead once again over to the main team. What I would have liked to see there, well, of course, is that they didn't start the dragon, maybe took a reset, because some health bars were really low, most notably Viking, and he didn't really have his cooldowns to defend himself against what else was incoming. And apparently there was also some kind of miscommunication in the Academy team tracking summoners, because Velociblade, he was the original champion getting caught off guard, but he survived through all that fight, still had his teleport available whilst there was no response able to come out from the Academy team, since all their important summoners that fight were on cooldown. So that is a really great play in the end, most notably by the main team. It looked like they lost for a second, but they never lost in their spirits.
And that's kind of what's been happening these last few games, right? It is just the main team, when it comes to those long fights, when it comes to those scrappy micro plays, you know, and looking for some of the spells and what is up and what is not up. It is always the main team who have been coming out on top, and perhaps it shows experience. I do not necessarily know, but either way, they are always coming on top in these fights. And now look at this top lane. We have a 6-0 Velocity sitting there with a 700 gold shutdown. This guy has 2 items completed. He is in incredibly strong, and there is no anti-heal at the moment, well, apart from the Bramblefest on the side of the Myth Academy team. So if Blade gets to play in these fights, it's going to be so difficult for them to take him down.
And I also like the confidence in his itemization. Last game we saw that he was struggling a little bit, so he had to go Death Stand second. Right now you saw, even when he gets collapsed on, his team is there to assist him. LeBronzy instantly turns around, looks with the shield into the shockwave to help him out. So he knows, I don't necessarily have to be this beefy right now. Most importantly, I need to start dealing damage. And it's a great purchase to be able to pick up Cyrildas by then, before you have to think about being tanky and bulky for the rest of your team. I really like that form of confidence, and it also shows that you trust the players you play with. That's basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I love how his sentence ended like there was no dot behind it, you know, like a comma.
Yeah, like
that is what I wanted to say.
I want to go somewhere, and then I was like, it makes no sense to say that because it's basically repeating what I just said. So that's what I wanted to say. There you go, Toki.
Well, it was beautiful. Thank you so much for giving the voiceover back to me, so I can continue on as we now see the side of the Mist main team all walking over towards this mid lane, and you can see that they're just really looking to group up now that the teleport of Blade is down. Now, you could argue they can send a Bronzy over towards the top lane to defend against Chained Up. Not doing so, though, so this tells me that they are going to be looking for an aggressive play here, because otherwise now they're just missing out on XP for no reason.
Yeah, well, like, Space also just keeps walking up in the in the face of LeBronzy. What's he doing?
Oh no, Space! That is not the space you want to be walking into, although they might be able to turn it around. Mistaken has taken a lot of damage. That's a good Feather Storm, though, from the side of Kip, but look at this. There's so much damage from Blade. He just runs them down, and I don't think there's anywhere for Alina to go except for the base, because right now it is the mid lane turret that is going to die, and the play that the main team was looking for has been found.
Yeah, and it was so confusing to me to see Space walking up this far. Yeah, your team is looking to make a flanking play, so I understand the aggression, but also know that the only form of vision you had was on the side you're flanking from, not the side that could have been a counter flank, and he get instantly punished for that, walking up just a little bit too far. LeBronzy knew that his orb placement was probably the best he could have ever gotten, and then you see Blade coming in before the rest can. So with that, Chained Up might have dealt a lot of damage during that fight, but such a great damage dealer like Space with 2 items already on himself, already out of the equation, just means that the main team is set up for success. Not even to talk about Mistaken, who also had a really great ultimate of himself, because he just slapped 2 backliners, also trying to deal their share of damage whilst they were getting recollapsed on by Chained Up, and that meant that Chained Up was there like a sitting duck because there was no one to support him.
Oh, now the Academy are looking for a miracle catch. They're looking for Blade. Can they kill him, though? The anti-heal is not enough, but there will be a shutdown going over towards the top lane, and maybe this is the miracle fight they're looking for. 2 flashes have been burned now by the side of the main team of Blade. They cannot work away further. Mr. Sword is trying to maybe get the attention, and it works because he flashes away to safety. Will he be safe enough, though? That's the question. You can see that they're still kind of trying to deal with them because they want this dragon. It's going to be the soul point for them. Space could be in trouble here. Does not get hit by the Q, and now Space flashes in to get the slow and make sure Mistaken dies, and he will indeed die. Ferrari gets another kill, and now it is the main team in a lot of trouble. This should be the dragon pickup, but you never know when you have the main carries up. Viking has been taken out. Kip is just walking forward. Does not have the Feather Storm, but actually does have the Feather Storm. Here it comes. It is going to be pulled out, but no one gets hit by it. This could be an opening here for the Academy team to look forward. That is going to be a kill.
Blade joining the fight.
But look at the Orianna absolutely destroying everyone, and now Ferrari has to run out, and this is just a deja vu of the last fight that we saw. It is Academy who comes out on top on first, but the longer the fight goes, the teleports start coming in, and the main team just always find a way to turn it around.
Yeah, and the first thing I wanted to say before this fight even, it kept going, so it was mostly you just having to talk because there was more and more fighting, but it was a 4v5 situation, but it was zero doubt in my head that LeBronzy would not look for a play right there. Like, his ultimate has been so on point, and the fact that Orianna is already so online, has 2 items, has the damage potential to just blow up a couple carries when she gets the shockwave. When you're doing a dragon fight or a dragon dance, a lot of the times when you're the team doing the dragon at the same time, you will be clustered together, being probably the best opportunity for LeBronzi to look to blow everyone up, and he did that. He flashed forward even to take out Viking first, and after that, well, maybe she was a little bit out of position, but it didn't really matter because LeBronzi, well, it just keeps on going with him. First with the Silas performance, now with the Orianna, and I dare to say that we may have a candidate for the MVP after this series.
We may as well have, but we cannot also take the attention away from Velozblade in this game as well.
True.
He has been, you know, soaking up so much pressure on his Aatrox at the moment. Well, speaking of soaking up pressure, look at this. 5 people are walking over to him at the moment, and he might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew, because this is going to be an old good flash coming in for Velozblade, but there is another ultimate. That surely will seal the deal. He is trying his best to run away, but the healing is not going to be there. That is going to be a shutdown going over to Viking, and in the meanwhile, it is actually main team of Myth not really finding a play on the cross map.
Yeah, and I do believe it is the overconfidence from Velozblade, because there wasn't really anything to do for his team. Baron is only spawning in 2.5 minutes. Like, if we were fast forwarding 2.5 minutes, this play would have been fine, because everyone is way too occupied with him. Now maybe LeBronzi may be looking for the same mistake, but there is the rest of the main team. Is this the crossplay they've been waiting for?
Oh, it is indeed. It was late, but it came to the party either way. Ferrari goes down. That is no jungler anymore, but they still have some decent wave clear. But you can see Mistaken is really looking to maybe look for a dive here. Of course, there's no tanks on the side of Myth at the moment, so they can look for something, but it is Viking and space with so much wave clear that makes it very, very difficult to get close.
Yeah, and for some reason that means the main team will, every single time that something happens on one side of the map, will have to give, or will have to take away, or will take away even, something on the other side. Great thing to see. Also good from the Academy team that they have taken the mid lane tower. Now there's also a bounty for them. It's closing the gap a little bit when it comes to gold, but it's still 4.5k in the advantage of the main team. They're also sitting on 3 dragons, next one spawning in 2 minutes, and this might be the actual time that we will see one of these gambits where Drake and Baron will be up at almost the exact same timing, and what will teams prioritize over the other? Will they look to get Baron even though there isn't really a game-ending play inside for the Academy team, or will they prefer to take the dragon of the main team with risking them ending the game of the Baron?
Yeah, it's what you alluded to in the second game, right? You already said it. It's like, oh, Kip has been caught up with the arrow. It is a very long arrow, so maybe they can actually find it. Yeah, but there is a Feather Storm that might keep him safe at the moment. The root is onto Alina, who's taking a little bit of damage, but they don't want to completely go for the tank. Lots of ultimates have been blown, however, and in 50 seconds, the Baron is going to come up. Now, the arrow should be up by then. I don't know about the Glacial Prison, so this might be an opportunity for the main team to look for a pick if they want to find it. But I feel like they don't even have to. They can kind of chill. They can push the waves and just set up, because as you said, you know, they can choose. If they want to give up the dragon, they can take the Baron and vice versa.
So right now it's the main team looking to get some vision over at the Baron. I dare to say that the Academy team also needs to get some form of response. Good thing is that most important summoners are up, so that means the teleport is available for both Chained Up and Alina on that side. The other side we all see both Velozblade and LeBronzi having theirs, so matching is also a choice that the main team right here has. But they are grouping. Oh, and that is a really early ultimate blown, but they're still looking to go!
Yeah, Space could be in trouble. Look at the damage dealt onto Viking. Velozblade is doing so much in this fight. So much pressure. Mistaken now has flashed in. Is he going to be able to put down the sleep? Yes, he will. But look at Velozblade. He is absolutely running through him with the Orianna ball on his face. That is too much damage for the Academy team to deal with. That's going to be 3 kills, 4 kills picked up for just one jungler. And the main team of Myth crushed the Academy team. Is Space gonna get away? Space just gets away.
He is the lone survivor, and this is really bad for the Academy team, because this means that both the Dragon and the Nashor are most definitely being picked up by their main team. Means that the main team right now is getting Dragon Soul. Deals a lot of damage on first impact, and we've already seen LeBronzi almost one-tap carry, so that means that he will have more potential in doing that. Velozblade, with only the tip of his sword, can deal a lot of damage, and Space well, he is the one that can maybe make the difference by setting up some vision for his team, and once again look with Ferrari for the Baron steal we've seen earlier. But then he shouldn't be right here on his own. Ferrari needs to be here fast, because if he's not, he might be able to be taken off guard by something like the LEA or Velociblade, who's also running towards this Baron Nashor.
Now, we have seen the Miracle Steal before, though, Matt. We have seen it from Ferrari.
It didn't win the game.
To get the game back. Yeah, that's true. But the deficit is also much less. Don't forget about that, because the last time he got the steal, the deficit was about 11.5k. This time around, it is, well, quote-unquote, just 6k. It's still quite a big lead, of course, for the side of the main team of Myth, but it is definitely more, not unsurmountable, to say the least. So we'll see if there could be a miracle play here. You see Alina looking for Kip once again, but unfortunately Glacial Prison goes wide, and that is going to hurt the Academy a lot for the upcoming moments.
Yeah, and of course LeBronzy here in the bot lane still has teleport available if his team wants to pull the trigger, or maybe even if the Academy team pulls the trigger, he can respond with that.
Arrow?
Kip
could be an arrow angle.
Kip also has the Feather Storm, so he's baiting right there.
Yeah, because it's a test of reaction time, right? And Kip knows that they are there, so he's like, alright, go on then, shoot the arrow. I'll make sure that I'm not going to get hit by it. Besides, Cleanse is going to be up in a few seconds as well, so it's going to be hard to lock him down now anyway. And now that, of course, the item, the Zhonya's has been finished for a while now for LeBronzy, he's also going to be much harder to take down. But Viking, I don't think they need the ultimate for that. He is completely dead. Featherstorm comes out onto space. Good flash from the arrow. Gets the double. Rude, beautifully stuffed there by Kip. That is going to be a rampage. That's going to be LeBronzy taking another kill. Chain Up is trying to run away, doing as much as he can. But does it matter? That is the big question. Chain Up is doing quite a bit of damage, but Velociblade and LeBronzy are just chasing him, as in the meanwhile, it is Alina trying to defend the turret, but you're not going to defend against the onslaught. That is the main team of Myth. Chain Up now finally does fall. It is an ace for the main team of Myth, and that is going to be all she wrote. The main team show why they are indeed the main team. It was a good effort from the side of the Academy. They showed signs of hope. They showed signs of life. But when it came to the big moments, the big team fights and the big calls, the main team comes out on top. They win the finals and they earn themselves a place in Division 1.
Yeah, and what a great performance it was from both teams. It was actually a great series to take back, because we have seen them both play with, well, the best that they had. I think the most important thing to take back of it is never doubt the leads. But look at these damage graphs as well. LeBronzy 25k on the Orianna, 24k on Velociblade with the Aatrox. It's some really great League of Legends we saw today. And even with the second game, you know, being able to be taken away from the main team by Academy, showing some signs of life.
Yep.
In the end, it is the main team you have to believe in, and they have shown us time and time again, they know how to pick their early game fights, they know how to pick a lead with that, unless it's level 1, and with that, they just can snowball through everything they have planned.
Yeah, and there were definitely some mistakes here and there from, well, both teams, but also the main team, of course. But I feel like consistency was the key here, and they showed that even though they made those mistakes, even though they sometimes got ahead of themselves, they still were the ones who, you know, drew it all the way over to the line, and they managed to just play it safe, play it controlled, and make sure that the Academy had no chance of coming back. Now, of course, we talked about this a little bit in the last game already, but everyone in the chat, who would you vote as your MVP for this series? Obviously, we're going to be looking at the main team of Myth for this. So, you know, put the name of the player in the chat to who you think is going to be the deserving MVP for this. Whether it's Velociblade, Mistaken, LeBronzy, Kip, or Mr. Salt. I'm going to go straight to you, Dermot. Who would be your MVP in this game?
To me, I think I still keep it on LeBronzy. I think he has shown a really great mid lane play. Of course, he got a pentakill during this series, but he's been so important for his team during these games. Not just by one-shotting enemy carries, but also just his awareness, saving Velociblade on multiple occasions on the Aatrox when he was playing the Orianna. He is the initiator of a lot of those plays on both Orianna and champions like Sylas. You can't really look over a player like this. Like, maybe Mistaken is also a really close second, because his map pressure is also, of course, been a decision maker and game breaker, therefore in that team. And Velociblade playing a really nice strong side as a close third. But this top side on the main team is a really dangerous one, and something that also the Division 1 teams, I'd say, has to keep in mind when they're playing against them.
Absolutely, fully agree with you on there. I'm going to show a little bit of love as well to the bot lane because, well, for example, Kip this game for sure played very well. Second game he didn't really get a chance, to be fair, but also Mr. Salt has been very consistent in this series. I mean, especially in that first game on his Blitz. Let's not forget how well he played that game too.
Yeah, that was a nice game.
I feel like everyone here definitely has the chance, but if we're talking about all over the entire series, the most consistent one, it is going to be either Mistaken or LeBronzy for me. I do see most of the votes are going to Mistaken into the chat. It is very close though for both players, but I feel like either of them deserve it, but I will happily give it over to Mistaken for this game. But either way, I think it was just it was a team effort, right? It really showed that all these players
always
can step
up. I don't really think you can ever say a game is completely 1v9 unless we're looking at G2 against Misfits during last season. Then we can say that VTO is the one 1v9ing a game completely. But right here, every single player on the main roster of Myth needed at least a little bit of help from someone else to be able to do what they like, snowballing, making sure everything is set up. Of course, I have made the example of LeBronzy with Velociblade, but game number 1 we had the combination of LeBronzy with Mr. Salt on the Blitzcrank. Game number 3 we saw the Silas in combination with Mistaken a bit more. Velociblade always being a really strong champion on the top lane. He did make some solo bolt, but also had some help from Mistaken over and over again, maybe even sometimes with LeBronzy with him. In the end, I'd say junglers are really important, but LeBronzy is also showing that there is a lot of roaming to be done on the mid lane champion, and with his awareness, my MVP vote would go to him.
Fair enough. Well, either way, it was a wonderful series. I'm glad we got some fights back and that it wasn't just a 3-0 sweep. Beautiful to see that the Academy are able to take down the main team as well. Shows that there is competition, and that is exactly what you need in a team to succeed. So, beautiful stuff here. Commiserations to the Academy team, but also big congratulations to the main team for making it over to Division 1 and, of course, winning the grand prize of €150. So, you guys make sure to enjoy that. But that is going to be it from myself, Dermot, of course, and everyone else. I want to thank you guys so incredibly much for watching. We hope to see you again when the next Division matches are going to come through. But for now, we are going to go to bed, or either way, or play some League. It depends, really. I mean, it's quite early, actually, now that I think about it. So maybe we're going to play some League. Maybe we're going to do some other stuff. But either way, please enjoy what you're doing. Have a great night. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.